क्या 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 Thank you. Looks like we have a pretty full room. We'd like to commence with the plenary session, please. Can I request the following delegates to please join me on stage? Shri Sanjay Mehta ji, Mr. Keyur Shah, Shri Paramjit Singh ji, Mr. Yogesh Mandani, and Mr. Shravan Agarwal. Also very honored to have Shri V.K. Tripathi, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Steel, join us via a live link from New Delhi. He will be also addressing the audience later this afternoon. Can I request all the dignitaries to please stand for the national anthem?
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you. Can I request Sanjay Bhai and the dignitaries on stage to please proceed with the lamp lighting to officially inaugurate the conference. a very warm welcome to all our registered delegates, dignitaries, Sri Tripathi ji, who's joining us online. Thank you and welcome all to Goa. It's wonderful to see an absolute packed room out here. We have 250 registered delegates. This is the first time that MRAI has organized something specifically for the recycling fraternity, the ferrous fraternity, the steel industry in India. And we truly appreciate all of you all attending and being here to support the association. Everyone knows market conditions are challenging as they are right now. And in spite of all of that, for 250 steel mills and other participants to be here is a true testament to what MRAI believes in, what we stand for, and the support we want to continue giving, not only you as members of the trade, but also policy feedback to the Government of India. We are, if you notice through the program flow, there's very little time where we set up on market updates and what's happening globally, etc. The next 1.5 days, we're really focusing more on issues which are going to be relevant for the next 10 years, for the next 15 years, related to steel in India. Whether that's BIS standards, whether that's green steel, whether that's green financing, and of course, decarbonization. These are all key words which we're hearing from the Ministry of Steel, from the Government of India, and with all of y'all, actual steel mills being present in this room for the next 1.5 days, I'm absolutely confident that it's going to be a wonderful conference. Please attend all the sessions. Please make the sessions as interactive as possible. If you go through the speaker list, we have a really AAA grade of speakers coming from large consulting firms, from large government organizations. They're all going to be here sharing their views on all the other topics that I just mentioned above. So please take full advantage of the next 1.5 days, attend our sessions, and make them as interactive as possible. I would now like to request MRAI to play our introductory video.
MRAI, voice of the Indian recycling industry. Often this is referred to as waste. It's everywhere. But what if it wasn't just waste? What if it was an opportunity? An opportunity to build a better future, a more sustainable India. Circularity is the answer. It encompasses recyclable materials that connect almost all spheres of human activities. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has envisioned a zero-waste society by 2070, and circular economy is the path to achieving this vision, where virgin resources are conserved and recyclable materials are the center of such an ecosystem. The vision also entails creating employment opportunities and doubling the earnings for rural and weaker sections of society, especially the women. Modi ji has launched Mission Life, Lifestyle for Environment, during India's presidency in 2023 at the G20 Summit, with the goal of having a measurable impact and motivating Indians and global citizens to take individual and group action for environmental conservation. The Material Recycling Association of India, with over 1,500 members representing the recycling industry, shares this vision of our Honorable Prime Minister. MRAI is growing along with its partner associations and implementing global best practices for sustainability and circularity in India. MRAI is contributing to the various government policy interventions like National Non-Ferrous Metal Scrap Recycling Framework, 11 action plans for circular economy across multiple segments, steel scrap policy, vehicle scrappage policy, updating the waste management rules and extended producer responsibility across various industries like batteries, tires, plastics, electronic scrap, JPC study on ferrous scrap market. MRAI is actively involved in the formation of BIS standards on ferrous, copper, aluminium scrap and plastics. Recycling is no longer misunderstood. Today's recycled products are equal, if not better, in quality and performance to those made from virgin materials. Join the movement. Recycle. Choose recycled products. Support initiatives that promote circular economy. Together, we can build a greener, more sustainable India and the world at large. Waste is not a problem. It's a resource. Let's recycle, reuse, and build a better tomorrow. MRAI, Voice of the Indian Recycling Industry.
Our first speaker for the Sustainable Steel Conference 2025, can I please request Mr. Keyur Shah, Managing Director of Monosteel India and also a Board Director at the MRAI. Monosteel is a well-recognized company that manufactures steel bars, bright bars and MS bars in Gujarat. Under his leadership, the company has been actively contributing to sustainable steel making and promoting responsible recycling practices. Keyur bhai, please go ahead.
A very warm good afternoon to everyone at the conference over here. It's a privilege to have everyone over here for the Goa's first Ferrous conference, which MRAI has hosted. And it's a privilege to stand before you all for the MRAI Sustainable Conference coming up in Goa. So steel is the backbone of nation's infrastructure. Making it sustainable, it's just not environment necessity, it's an economic and industrial imperative. By embracing recycling green technologies, we ensure that the strength of the industry for the responsibility of the planet goes hand in hand. So now coming up with the role of MRAI. MRAI has been sustainable steel making by integrating the recyclers in the India. Though the continuous engagement with the Ministry of Steel and MOEFCC, MRAI had been for the shape of policies recognizing for scrap as green material, for the low carbon emission of steel production. Our initiatives for circular economy, scrap standardization, and responsible recycling has been the prime motto. By bridging recyclers, steel makers, and policy makers, MRAI has been as a bridge between all of them. Now coming up with the growth of MRAI. It was been founded by Shri Iqbal Nathani ji in 2011 with 45 members. And now this apex body with President Sanjay Mehta ji has been with 1800 steel makers association. MRAI has been very active in all the forms: ferrous, non-ferrous, plastic, e-waste, ELVs, batteries, tires, used oil, and paper, making MRAI the umbrella body for the Indian recycling ecosystem. We have been recognized by MOEFCC, Ministry of Steel, DGFT, Niti Aayog, CPCB, and various other associations as the official voice of Indian Recycling Association. The policy and the regulatory of achievements of MRAI. MRAI has continuously worked with the streamlined trade procedures and remove operational bottlenecks for recyclers. During COVID-19 lockdown, MRAI has been very active with the waivers of the detention charges by shipping line, saving crores of rupees of the Indian recyclers. Our representations have been led to zero import duty on ferrous scrap, simplified PSIC procedures, ease of SIMS compliance. MRAI has been very active for shaping in EPR, vehicle scrappage policy, and circular economy committee under Niti Aayog. Above all, our advocacy has been ensured by the recycling and is viewed as environmental solution and not a pollution problem. National and global presence for MRAI. The International Material Recycling Conference has become over the Asia's most respectable platforms for the global recycling dialogue in India, with over 12 editions already done till date. We have done successfully 3 conferences, 2 in Bangkok and 1 with Vietnam, and we have got a very huge position in the center. The conference regularly hosts leaders from BIR, REMA, URIC, CMRA, and various international governments strengthening India's global recycling and partnership. Today, MRAI stands as internationally respected institution of dialogue and collaboration, strengthening sustainability and public awareness. MRAI has launched initiatives like circular economy parks, skill development, and recycling standards, aligning the growth with sustainability. We are proud to serve as sustainable partner for the IFA Awards 2025 as MRAI, taking the recycling awareness beyond the industry into particular culture. Those efforts reflect MRAI belief that environment responsibility and economic progress must grow together. We have been in many collaborations with the government. MRAI has been close partnership with the MoEFCC, Ministry of Steel, Ministry of Commerce, Niti Aayog, and state governments, ensuring recyclers are a part of policy making. Our approach has always been constructive, not confidential, focused on solutions that serve both industry and the business with the environment saving. This cooperative model is one of the key reasons behind MRAI story. The road ahead for MRAI would be, MRAI's journey is far from over. Our goal is to make India a global hub for sustainable recycling and economy. As we gathered here in Goa, steel by steel, idea by idea, let's reframe our collective resolve to strengthen India's steel sector through sustainability, innovative ideas and unity. Together we have achieved a lot, together we will be doing much more. Thank you. Now one more request to everyone. As we have made up this first conference of MRAI as coming up for a technological sessions, I would like everyone to attend each and every sessions, rather doing more of networking. That can be done later on. And attend each and every sessions, and it would be very useful because we have got many more speakers over here in Goa. Thank you so much.
Can I now request Shri Yogesh Mandani ji, President of IFA, to please share his opening remarks. Yogesh ji is a seasoned business leader with over 20 years of experience in manufacturing and business sectors. He currently serves as Director of the Construction Industry Development Council. He is also the President of IFA and Chairman of Bharat Ferroalloys and SMW Ispat Private Limited. Known for his expertise in sustainability, steel and agriculture, Mandani ji is actively pursuing net zero carbon emissions and is involved with various committees in Maharashtra focusing on circular economy.
Good afternoon to all and welcome to one and all here. I would also like to welcome Shri Tripathi ji who has joined us. Let us make this event very interactive, and thanks to MRI for getting all the steel manufacturers under one roof for the discussions, for the policy makings, for the way ahead, for the future of our steel industry. Firstly, I would like to really congratulate one and all for being a role model in the steel industry of Indian steel making. We all deserve this. So I would like to have a round of applause for all of us. And it's really appreciating that the ministry, the Indian government have started recognizing us, and they have shown that the way ahead for the green steel, for the steel making, for the affordable steel, this sector is very promising, and we are really proud, and we assure that we will move ahead with the spirit what the steel ministry wants to do us. There are a lot of challenges we are facing, and these challenges at such a forum should come forward so that the policy makers, the ministry get recognized all our issues and resolve it. I would also say that now, since this sector has been very much into the green steel, sustainable steel, and there are a lot of government initiatives, the policies has been declared for the green initiative, and it's especially for the sector which is the secondary sector. And we all must participate in this. We have been governed by NIST, who is our mentor, who the nodal officer, the director for the NIST is here with us, and he is always supporting us in the journey of steel making. So let us interact, let us have lot of gain from the sector, which really says that we can achieve the target of 300 million tons of steel making with affordable with the green initiative. The green taxonomy, already I have seen that almost like 20 to 25, Paramjit ji, almost 25 to 30 industries from the sector have been allotted the green certificate. Around 30. So we are like 1,700, 1,800 members. So why not each and everyone come forward? See, our secretary, our steel ministry has always mentioned that कि जब भी बात होती है कि स्टील कौन बनाता है तो 4-5 लोगों का नाम आता है. Why not you guys come forward? And our secretary has shown an interest and he has started visiting the steel plants also. IFA, I represent IFA as a president, and we with the MRI are taking lot of issues ahead and also have initiated the plant visits for the of the steel manufacturers, for the policy makers and also the other fraternities, so that we get a level playing field. There are a lot of challenges why our material is being sold at a low price as compared to the main producers. That has to be addressed. And now we are on the journey of achieving that. So let's be united, let's be together, and I hope that this forum, this MRI conference of recycling will help us to achieve our goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogesh. I think that sets the context really well for all the sessions later on green steel and decarbonization. So we look forward to everyone's participation on that. Can I now request Shri Sanjay Mehta ji to join me on the podium? Sanjay Bhai is the president of MRAI and heads the MTC Group, a 5-decade-old business group employing more than 5,000 personnel involved in ferrous and non-ferrous scrap, ferroalloys, iron ore, coking coal, and a manufacturer of steel billets, rebar, structural and copper tubes. Sanjay Bhai, all yours.
थैंक यू जैन. सबसे पहले आप सबका स्वागत गोवा के अंदर. जैसे मेरे वीपी ने बताया कि जैन नाथानी ने कि स्पेशली फेरस इंडस्ट्रीज के लिए ये कॉन्फ्रेंस गोवा के अंदर 2 दिन की ऑर्गेनाइज की गई है. सो आपका सपोर्ट शॉर्ट जर्नी के अंदर 1 से 1.5 महीने के अंदर आप इतनी अच्छी संख्या में आए, उसके लिए आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. First of all, like already briefed by my friend Yogesh Mandani ji, the support of Steel Ministry is immense. VK Tripathi sir ji, नमस्ते. मेरे जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी और स्टील मिनिस्ट्री में हमारे वर्टिकल को स्क्रैप बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री, सेकेंडरी स्टील को मतलब एब्सोल्युटली प्राथमिकता देने वाले VK त्रिपाठी सर और परमजीत जी सर यहाँ पर बैठे हैं. और स्टील मिनिस्ट्री से मेरा नाता लगभग 16 साल का रहा है. 10 साल तो मुझे प्रेसिडेंट हो गए, उसके पहले मैंने 3 साल वाइस प्रेसिडेंट की चेयर पे था, और उसके पहले 3 साल इनफॉर्मल रही MRAI इकबाल नाथानी सर के अंडर में. तो 16 साल से मेरे ख्याल से मैं, जैन नाथानी, हम लोग सब लोग मिनिस्ट्री में जाते रहे हैं. और 16 साल की जर्नी में आपको इतना बता सकता हूँ, द काइंड ऑफ सपोर्ट व्हाट वी रिसीव्ड एज ए MRAI फ्रॉम स्टील मिनिस्ट्री इज इमेंस. हमने आपके साथ में चल के, आपके साथ में मतलब टोटल मार्गदर्शन के अंदर हमने दूसरे वर्टिकल की भी स्थापना की. हमारे में हिम्मत दिलाने की जो आपने टोटल साहस बढ़ाया, उसके लिए मैं आपका हमेशा से शुक्रगुजार रहूँगा. और लास्ट 15 साल के अंदर जिस तरीके से स्टील मिनिस्ट्री को, स्पेशली सेकेंडरी स्टील को जो सपोर्ट मिला है, वो मतलब मैं आपको बयान नहीं कर सकता, क्योंकि मैं एडवोकेसी साइड में इन्वॉल्व हूँ. मेरा नाता स्टील मिनिस्ट्री से बहुत ओल्ड रहा है और आज भी हम जाते रहते हैं, चाहे योगेश मंदानी साहब हो, चाहे मैं हूँ. और हम जिस तरीके से स्टील मिनिस्ट्री में जाते हैं, और आप लोगों की वहाँ पर बहुत ज़्यादा वैल्यू है. और डे बाय डे जिस तरीके से ग्रीन स्टील टैक्सोनॉमी, जिस तरीके से स्टील मिनिस्ट्री सारी पॉलिसी आप लोगों के लिए बना रही है, मेरा ऐसा विश्वास है कि सेकेंडरी स्टील को बहुत ज़्यादा हाइट के ऊपर लेके जाने में स्टील मिनिस्ट्री का अभूतपूर्व योगदान रहेगा. थैंक यू सो मच VK त्रिपाठी सर और परमजीत जी सर, जिस तरीके से आपका सपोर्ट है. थैंक यू सो मच. रिगार्डिंग MRAI, Keyur Shah has already briefed that we are an association of all the recycling materials. We started our journey from ferrous scrap, ferrous and non-ferrous. Then later on, after 8-9 years of journey, Niti Aayog and lot of ministries consultations we have joined. We have included other materials like plastic, paper, batteries, e-waste, everything has been included, and almost 11 verticals are there. I can proudly say that almost 8 verticals are absolutely working fine, in absolutely the bodies are there. The like e-waste body is absolutely, we are the apex body in e-waste, we are the apex body in tire, we are the apex body in plastic. So we are very much closely working with NITI Aayog and MOFCC on the other policy making. So MRA is definitely doing their level best for best policy formation for the industries. Why associations are necessary? Like my friend Mr. Yogesh Mandani, he has just 2 months back has organized All India Induction Furnace conference in Mumbai, NESCO, and there was 2.5 days, 3 days conference, very well successful conference. All the induction furnace participants have participated. Almost over 3,000, 4,000 people have participated. 3,000 people have participated, and this is the platform where we as both MRI and MRI is a recyclers association, and that is an induction furnace association. We both are together trying to make best policies for the industry, and I can say proudly that Yogesh Mandani has done very well work in last few years, and since he has taken the presidentialship, and the industry advocacy has taken different route. Thank you, Yogesh bhai, for your efforts and everything. Regarding Mr. Keyur Shah and Zain Nathani, Shravan Agarwal, in this, we decided in our board meeting that we will henceforth organize our vertical-wise conference, and so this is our first ferrous conference. Then later on, non-ferrous conference, plastic, e-waste conferences will be organized. Like tire also will be organized separately in one conference in a year, so that at least that particular verticals can get concentration, absolutely full concentrations from the government of India. So such kind of conferences will be organized once in a year from the next year. So thank you very much, Keyur Bhai, for Shravan and Zain Nathani, everyone, that for your absolutely amazing supports. Why these associations are necessary? Through these meetings, through this convention, we connect to each other, our fellow participants, our industry fellow members, and through connections, through connect, we can sign a contract for the future. These conferences will give you the future idea, where the future is lying. I mean, what is the global scenario, what is the Indian scenario? So such kind of conferences for all of us are very much necessary. Keep attending, keep giving us our support. I'm also having my own industry. Yogesh Mandani is having their own empire. Keyur Bhai is having their own empire. Good. Mono Steel itself is a very good brand. Guardian Steel is having its good brand. We all are trying hard to get best policies for all you all. So give us your best support, and we will try our level best to give you best policies from the government of India. From this platform, I should thank all the sponsors like Electrotherm, my main sponsor, and all the gold sponsors for their supports. All the exhibitors also, thank you very much for your support in this first conference. We as a MRI are having their own magazines. This is the only recycling magazines in India which is issued by the MRI, its own magazines, having all kind of recycling verticals, informations, global scenario, Indian scenario. Do subscribe such kind of magazines. Every kit has a MRI magazine. Please do read fully and do subscribe for later on for your knowledge purpose. I request MRA Sufyan to play a end video. Is not there? Later on. Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you very much. Please enjoy this conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sanjay Bhai. Our next speaker, Shri Paramjit Singh Ji, is the director of NIST, which is the National Institute of Secondary Steel Technology. He's a metallurgical engineer from Punjab Engineering College with over 25 years experience in the steel sector. Under his leadership, NIST has advanced technology adoption, energy efficiency and sustainability in the secondary steel industry. Paramjit Singh Ji, please aye.
Good afternoon to all of you present over here. Tripathi sir, respected Tripathi sir, and Sanjay bhai, Yogesh bhai, and Ketan Shah ji, and all the participants present over here. It's my honor to be here and to represent NIST. As you know, NIST is the organization which is established by Ministry of Steel in 1987 when there was only re-rolling mills. And the objective was to just to focus on improve the efficiency. Just as the time passes and new, you can say, technologies have come, now the NIST has broadened the, you can say, service area. I'll talk about that service areas tomorrow. But today I'll just talk about that, all of you know that India has a capacity of more than 200 million tons. Out of that 200 million tons, 47% steel is produced by the secondary steel sector and 53% is by the integrated steel plants. So the contribution is quite huge. I hope that in coming future by 2030, the secondary steel will be contributing around 50%. And if you if we talk about the production side, then around 38% of the steel is produced through the induction furnace route using the scrap, for which today's conference is there, where we are talking about the sustainable steel. And this sector is going to play a major role in this, you can say, in the production of green steel and the quality steel. As you know, the green steel taxonomy has been notified by Ministry of Steel on 23rd of December 2024. After the notification of, and NIST has been notified as a nodal agency. After the notification of that taxonomy, we have worked and we have developed the mechanism. We have followed the CCRS guidelines. We have developed the mechanism for issuing the green steel certificates. And first 3 green certificates have been issued on 13th of August. And we are continuously interacting with, and 8 certificates were issued in the IFA function, which was organized in Mumbai. And we are also going to give some of the certificates tomorrow. And I just want to inform you that there is a huge, you can say, enthusiasm in the industry to get the green steel certificate. And this shows that industry is interested to improve themselves, because once you know that where you stand, then you have then you can work on that, how to improve it. So as on date, we have more than 80 industries registered with us for the green steel certification. We are continuously working with it to, for the audits and further evaluation of the sheets. So I request all the industries to come forward, because we are not going to give you the green steel certificates only. We are going to handhold you just to improve further, to improve the greenness in the steel. With these words, I thank you, Sanjay bhai, and all the members present over. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Paramjit ji. We are delighted to have government delegates also with us. Shri Devapan Bhadra ji of BIS will be speaking later today. Thank you for joining us. Tripathi ji is also there on the live web link. Before I request Shri Tripathi ji to say his few words. Sufyan, the link is live, correct? Okay, perfect. Tripathi ji is a 95 batch officer of the Indian Railway Service of Engineers and currently serves as JS of the Ministry of Steel, Government of India. A graduate of IIT Roorkee with a degree in civil engineering. Mr. Tripathi previously served as the executive director at the Railway Land Development Authority. His extensive experience in engineering and administrative domains underlines his leadership in promoting efficiency, innovation, and strategic development within India's steel and infrastructure ecosystem. Can we have Tripathi ji's live link here, please? Great. Just before Shri Tripathi ji says his remarks, sir, I would like to just state one fact for you. We're very proud that we have Mono Steel with us on stage today. Mono Steel is the first company from the secondary steel sector to register for the hydrogen pilot project to reduce carbon emissions, which is fully supported by the Ministry of Steel. The government has allocated, I believe, almost 450 crores to reduce coal consumption and substituted with innovative ideas. like replacing it with hydrogen. MRA is fully behind such initiatives. We request all other steel mills in the room today to take advantage of these government schemes. And we congratulate Mono Steel for taking this first step on this pilot project again. Tripathi ji, welcome sir. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to hearing your remarks.
Namaskar. Can you hear me? Honorable dignitaries, respected industry leaders, entrepreneurs, dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. It is a privilege to be before those who quite literally shape the strength of our nation, the steel industry of India, and more specifically the recycling and secondary steel sector, which embodies the very spirit of circular economy and sustainability. Today, India is the world's second largest steel producer with crude steel output of 152 million tons in financial year 2025. This achievement is not just a number. It is the story of nation building, roads, bridges, ports, power plants, and cities. The steel sector is the backbone of our infrastructure and contributes nearly 2% of India's GDP, providing employment to over 2.6 billion people directly or indirectly. But as we look to the future, the question before us is no longer just how much steel we produce, it is how sustainably we produce it. Because while steel builds our future, the way we make it decide whether that future is green. Ministry of Steel envisions 300 million ton of capacity by 2030-31. This is a bold step, but it is also complete and compels us to confront a crucial reality. The steel sector contributes about 10 to 12% of India's total greenhouse gas emissions, primarily from fossil fuel-based processes. If India is to achieve its Panchamrit climate goal, including net zero by 2070, the steel industry must lead this green transformation from the front. And within this transformation, recycling and secondary steel production are not peripheral players, they are the game changers. The Ministry of Steel has drawn up a clear decarbonization roadmap to steer this transformation. In the short term, that is up to 2030, our focus is on energy and resource efficiency, integrating renewable power. In medium term, that is from 2030 to 2047, we are advancing the use of green hydrogen and carbon capture utilization and storage technologies. And in long term, 2047 to 2070, we aim for disruptive innovation that will take Indian steel sector to net zero emission. Our collective goal is to bring down the current emission intensity from 2.454 ton carbon dioxide per ton of crude steel to 2.2 ton carbon dioxide per ton of crude steel by 2030. In the last year, the Ministry of Steel has taken historic steps that are setting global benchmarks. The Greening the Steel Sector Roadmap and Action Plan, released in September 2024, provides the most comprehensive strategy for decarbonizing steel sector. And it has been developed by 14 expert task forces, each focused on actionable solution. The taxonomy of the green steel that has already been detailed by Director NIST and the President IFA, Mandani ji. This is not, the green steel certification is not just a certification, it's a badge of leadership. Those who have already achieved the certification, I congratulate them for this leadership. Under the National Green Hydrogen Mission, the ministry has awarded 5 pilot projects to test hydrogen-based reduction technologies in DRI and blast furnace processes. I've been told that one of the pilot project is by the leading entrepreneur who is present here among us on the dais. Friends, if there is one domain where India can accelerate decarbonization today, it is steel recycling. Recycling steel consumes far less energy, emits up to 70% less carbon dioxide, and saves our precious natural resources, that is iron ore and coal. Every ton of scrap recycled is more than a ton of iron ore saved and more than a ton of the coal saved. India's demand for steel scrap is projected to rise from present 36 million ton to 78 million ton by FY 35-36. To meet this, the Ministry of Steel is formulating Steel Scrap Recycling Policy 2025 in collaboration with all stakeholder ministries. This policy aims to build an organized, efficient scrap collection ecosystem across vehicles, building, railways, and shipbreaking. It will also encourage environmentally sound recycling practices and promote circular economy principle that makes India less dependent on imported scrap. For the secondary sector, this is not just an environmental opportunity, it is a strategic and economic opportunity. You, the recycler, the small and medium steel maker, are not the secondary player anymore. You are the primary drivers of India's green steel revolution. To empower this transformation, the ministry is formulating the National Mission on Sustainable Steel, focusing on secondary steel sector. The mission focuses on incentivizing secondary steel sector for emission reduction by using energy efficient technologies, resource efficiency, and integrating renewable energy. And the scrap comes in resource efficiency. And we have particularly incorporated the use of scrap in reduction of the carbon dioxide emission. Friends, this transition is not just about technology or policy, it is about partnership. The ministry can set direction, but the real momentum comes from you, the recycler, innovators, and entrepreneurs who convert waste into wealth, scrap into strength, and metal into modernity. Together, we are not only reducing emission, we are reshaping India's industrial identity. Each furnace that runs on scrap, each ton of recycled steel that replaces virgin ore brings India closer to the net zero vision and to a future where growth and sustainability walk hand in hand. So let us dream big, but dream responsibly. Let us build not just more steel, but better steel, cleaner, smarter, and greener. Every beam that supports a bridge, every rail that carries our trains, every wire that lights our homes, let it be a testament to India's innovation, resilience, and environmental responsibility. Because when we recycle steel, we are not just recycling metal, we are recycling hope, renewing resources, and reinforcing the future of our nation. Together, we can make India not only the largest producer of the steel, but also the leader of sustainable steel making in the world. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Tripathi ji, for those inspirational words and also taking the time out on a Sunday to join us online. Thank you very much. Can I request for a video to be played right now?
MRAI, Voice of the Indian.
As India aims to become the world's second largest steel producer, one force powers this transformation, secondary steel industry. And at the heart of this journey stands one name, Material Recycling Association of India, Voice of the Indian Recycling Industry. MRAI unites the Indian ferrous recycling industry from collection yards to steel mills, connecting every link in the value chain and promoting a cleaner, more efficient green steel economy. MRAI works hand in hand with the Ministry of Steel and other key government bodies, resolving trade issues, shaping recycling policies, and ensuring the voice of the industry is always-heard at the highest level. MRAI's policy interventions have helped streamline scrap imports, simplify compliance, and promote domestic recycling, empowering India's steelmakers to grow sustainably. Every member counts. Every recycler matters. With MRAI, we achieve more. We solve problems faster. We build India's future stronger. MRAI is your bridge to the government, your advocate for growth, and your partner in progress. Join MRAI. Together, we can make India truly sustainable.
As we come towards the end of our plenary session, just to remind you that we have two panel discussion sessions after this, after the plenary concludes. The first one is going to be on BIS standards. It's very interesting, and I request everyone, we're going to continue straight through the plenary. Amar Singh, our Secretary General, will be moderating that with Sri Bhadraji. It will be on Indian standard for high-strength deformed steel rebars. And then after that, we have a session on green steel market, procurement, and policy initiatives as well, as we conclude day one. Can I request Shri Shravan Agarwal ji, Managing Director of Guardian Castings Private Limited, to please deliver the vote of thanks. He's also a board director of MRAI. He holds an MBA degree and has led Guardian to remarkable growth and success. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Zain. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Shravan Agarwal, Managing Director, Guardian Castings Private Limited, and Director, MRAI. It is a distinct honor to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of our association at the landmark event. At the outset, my deepest gratitude to Mr. V.K. Tripathi ji, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Steel. Despite a demanding schedule, your willingness to join via video conference and articulate the government's bold vision for sustainable steel inspires us all to thrive for higher standards and purposeful innovation. A special thanks to you, Mr. Sanjay Mehta, President MRAI. Your leadership, insight, and unwavering commitment continue to propel our industry into a new era of responsibility and growth. Our thanks also to Mr. Keyur Shah, Managing Director, Mono Steel India Limited, whose forward-thinking approach to collaboration sets a benchmark for a greener tomorrow. Heartfelt appreciation to Mr. Yogesh Mandani ji, President IFA, for sharing their expertise and practical perspectives on greening our sector. To Mr. Zain Nathani, Vice President MRAI, thank you for moderating with poise and ensuring thoughtful, balanced discourse throughout our deliberations. Our thanks to Mr. Haresh Patel, President CO Steel Rolling Mills Association Gujarat, for their engagement and support for our shared mission. We gratefully acknowledge the unfailing support from Mr. Paramjit Singh ji, Director NIST under Ministry of Steel, and Mr. D. Bhadraji, Head Civil Engineer, BIS, our partners whose steadfast belief in sustainability amplifies every step our industry takes. Finally, to every delegate and participant, your presence, engagement, and commitment are the backbone of our shared mission. Together, we are forging a future where steel stands as a symbol not just of strength, but sustainability and collective purpose. Thank you one and all for your valuable contributions and unwavering dedication. Let's continue to advance our vision for a greener, more vibrant steel industry. I would now call upon Mr. Amar Singh, our Secretary General, to say a few words.
हॉल में एनर्जी की थोड़ी कमी थी, तो मैंने कहा कि मुझे स्टेज पकड़ना पड़ेगा अब। आप लोगों का तहे दिल से स्वागत करना चाहता हूं और धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं कि इतने कम समय में, लास्ट 1 महीने पहले हमने केयूर भाई हमने प्लान किया कॉन्फ्रेंस, और आप सभी लोगों की जो उपस्थिति है यहाँ पे, इट मेक्स अस वेरी प्राउड। थैंक यू सो मच। जिस तरह से किसी चीज़ के बारे में सोचा जाता है और उसको अंजाम दिया जाता है, मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा केयूर भाई का। बोर्ड मीटिंग में ऐसे ही डिस्कस हुआ कि हम लोग कम्युनिटीज़ की मीटिंग करेंगे, सेपरेट कम्युनिटी वाइज कॉन्फ्रेंसेस करेंगे, और केयूर भाई टुक द लीड। जैन सर, श्रवण जी, संजय भाई, सबका सपोर्ट था और आज ये हमने कॉन्फ्रेंस सक्सेसफुल कर दिया। थैंक यू सो मच एवरीवन। सिवाय बोर्ड के और भी लोग हैं जिनके सपोर्ट, सहयोग की वजह से ये कॉन्फ्रेंस आज सक्सेसफुल हुई, और मैं वो नाम मेंशन करना चाहता हूँ। मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूँ कि आईफा और एमआरआई सिस्टर एसोसिएशंस हैं। हमारे बीच में किसी तरह का कोई कंपटीशन नहीं है। एमआरआई ऑलवेज सपोर्ट्स आईफा एंड आईफा ऑलवेज सपोर्ट्स एमआरआई। और मैं तहे दिल से धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा योगेश भाई का, जिनके सपोर्ट से आज ये कॉन्फ्रेंस सक्सेसफुल हुआ। थैंक यू सो मच योगेश भाई। भावनगर से हमारे हरीश काका हैं। काका प्लीज कम, प्लीज कम, प्लीज कम, प्लीज कम, आइए, आप आगे आइए। 4 दिन पहले काका से रिक्वेस्ट किया गया कि काका आप स्टील इंडस्ट्री का स्ट्रेंथ देखना है, तो प्लीज कम, ऊपर आइए, ऊपर आइए। स्टील इंडस्ट्री का स्ट्रेंथ देखना है और आपके बगैर ये स्ट्रेंथ जो है वो पूरी नहीं है। तो हरीश काका का जो सपोर्ट मिला एमआरआई को, इवन आईफा को भी, वो बहुत ही सराहनीय है। और मैं चाहूँगा कि इस तरह से ही हम सारी एसोसिएशंस आपस में एक दूसरे को सपोर्ट करते रहें। Thank you so much, Harish Kaka, for all your support. नेस्ट के बारे में मुझे नहीं पता कि आप लोग कितना जानते हैं, कितना नहीं जानते हैं। नेस्ट लास्ट 2 साल से बहुत उभरता हुआ सितारा बन के आया, एंड ऑल थैंक्स टू श्री परमजीत जी। सर, मैं आपको ये एकदम तथ्य बता रहा हूँ। मैं आज मुझे 14 साल हो गए इंडस्ट्री के साथ। 3-4 साल पहले नेस्ट को नहीं जानता था कोई, लेकिन आपकी हार्ड वर्किंग, आपका डेडिकेशन, आई हैव सीन पर्सनली कि योगेश जी के कहने पे, संजय भाई के कहने पे आप एक दिन में भी कहीं पहुंच जाते हैं। एंड दिस इज अ ट्रिमेंडस एफर्ट विच नेस्ट इज पुटिंग टू प्रमोट आर सेकेंडरी स्टील इंडस्ट्री। हम लोग को प्रमोट करने के लिए काम हो रहा है, और जो ग्रीन स्टील सर्टिफिकेशंस हैं या जो भी चीज़ें, जो नए नए बदलाव आ रहे हैं, वो आगे चल के हमारी इंडस्ट्री को ही फायदा देने वाले हैं, सेकेंडरी स्टील इंडस्ट्री को ही बढ़ावा देने वाले हैं। तो मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा सर, और मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा संजय भाई, योगेश भाई, काइंडली फेलिसिटेट परमजीत सर फॉर हिज प्रेजेंस।
देखिए, आपकी एमआरआई है ना, इंटरनेशनल एसोसिएशन से काफ़ी जुड़ी हुई है, बहुत ज़्यादा जुड़ी हुई है। चाहे वो यूएसए की एसोसिएशन हो, यूरोप की BIR हो, दुबई की BMRA हो, UK की BMR है, आपको मैं बहुत ही मतलब कि इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ बता रहा हूँ कि जब वो यहाँ आते हैं उनके प्रेसिडेंट या उनके चेयर वगैरह, और वो जब हमारे गवर्नमेंट डिग्नेटरीज को डायस के ऊपर देखते हैं, मंत्री जी को देखते हैं, ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया साहब आए, रुचिका जी, विके त्रिपाठी, संदीप पॉन्ट्रिक साहब, नीस्ट के परमजीत सिंह साहब है, अब बिलीव कीजिए मेरे ऊपर कि वो बोलते कि आप गवर्नमेंट को अपने स्टेज पे लाते कैसे हैं। हमारे इधर तो कोई गवर्नमेंट का बंदा आता ही नहीं हमारे कोई प्रोग्राम में, चाहे रेमा हो, चाहे BIR हो, कोई भी हो। आपकी गवर्नमेंट इतनी आपसे मिल सकती है, आप मिलते भी हो, इनवाइट भी करते हो, लेके भी आ जाते हो। तो हमने ये बताया कि ये 10 साल का ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन है। हमारे ये 10-15 साल के अंदर, लास्ट 10 साल के अंदर जिस तरीके से ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हुआ है, मतलब कि गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स में भी, मैं रियली अपनी मतलब मन की इच्छा जाहिर कर रहा हूँ आपके सामने। हम चाहते हैं एडवोकेसी के लिए, हम बात करते हैं, अपॉइंटमेंट्स मांगते हैं, चाहे योगेश भाई का एक्सपीरियंस हो, चाहे मेरा एक्सपीरियंस हो। आपकी एसोसिएशन में जेन्युइन एजेंडा होना चाहिए, आपको अपॉइंटमेंट मिलेगा, आपकी सुनवाई होगी, आपके उस एजेंडे के ऊपर काम भी होगा। देखिए, डिसीजन ऑन द स्पॉट नहीं होते हैं गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट से, टेक्स टाइम, बिकॉज पूरी इंडस्ट्री का सवाल है, उनको उनकी अपनी कार्यप्रणाली है। बट मैं आपको इतना कह सकता हूँ कि आपको अटेंड किया जाता है। तो अभी जैसे मेरे सेक्रेटरी जनरल ने, अमर सिंह ने बताया लिस्ट के बारे में, मैं वाकई में बताता हूँ कि एक लेमैन भी फ़ोन उठा के रंजीत साहब से बात कर सकता है। आपकी इंडस्ट्री से जितने भी 1700 मेंबर हैं, इनसे एटलीस्ट बात कर सकते हैं, आप इनसे ज्ञान प्राप्त कर सकते हैं, आप इनसे ग्रीन स्टील के बारे में, टेक्सोनॉमी के बारे में बात कर सकते हैं। ये एटलीस्ट कम से कम आपके सामने उपस्थित है, बड़ी चीज़ है हमारे लिए। थैंक यू सो मच।
अमर जी,
जब
जस्ट एक छोटा सा कमेंट करना चाहूँगा। तो नीस्ट जो है ये बहुत पुराना ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, और ये सेकेंडरी स्टील के वेलफेयर के लिए, और सेकेंडरी स्टील में नई लेटेस्ट टेक्नोलॉजी आनी चाहिए, सेकेंडरी स्टील को प्रमोट करने के लिए ये संस्था स्थापित हुई थी। मुझे याद है कमल जी उसके फाउंडर, वन ऑफ द फाउंडर डायरेक्टर्स है उस संस्था के। जैसा कि अमर जी ने कहा कि 2 साल से सबको पता चल रहा है कि नीस्ट, डेफिनेटली परमजीत जी पहले नीस्ट में रह चुके हैं, और उनका एक झुकाव नीस्ट के साथ और अपने सेकेंडरी स्टील सेक्टर के साथ में काफ़ी ज़्यादा है। और ये 2 साल से, जब से इन्होंने ये डायरेक्टरशिप का पोस्ट लिया है, मे बी लाइक 1.5 ईयर्स से, इनसे हमारा रेगुलर डिस्कशन होता था, एंड वेरी प्राउडली सेइंग दैट इन्हीं के वजह से आज मिनिस्ट्री ने रिकॉग्नाइजेशन ऑफ सेकेंडरी स्टील होना चाहिए। सेकेंडरी स्टील, वाई नॉट रिकॉग्नाइज्ड? Why only when a layman talks about the steel in India, he recognized only 5 to 6 players, which are the main producers, JSW है, जिंदल, उसके बाद अपना सेल, RINL, टाटा, इसके अलावा बाकी किसी का नाम क्यों नहीं आता? ये सेक्रेटरी का बहुत बड़ा क्वेश्चन मार्क था। एंड डेफिनेटली सेक्रेटरी बीइंग अ स्टील सेक्रेटरी, बिफोर दैट ही हेडेड वेरियस डिपार्टमेंट, तो उनके दिमाग में भी यही था कि स्टील बोले तो इतने ही लोग और इतने लोगों में काम होता है। थैंक्स टू नीस्ट, सेंट्रा वर्ल्ड के मिस्टर ये भी बैठे हुए हैं साथ में, तो इन्होंने भी काफ़ी सेकेंडरी स्टील को कैसे प्रमोट किया जाए, तो एक क्या बोलते हैं ना, एक सिनर्जी बनी, और वो सिनर्जी में नाउ इट इज़ टर्न ऑफ अस, हमारे सेक्टर का कोई आके हमको लिफ्ट तो करने वाला नहीं है, हमको अपने आप को लिफ्ट करना पड़ेगा, हमको अपने आप को रिकॉग्नाइज करवा के लेना पड़ेगा। हमारे पास एक इंस्ट्रक्टर, एक प्रोफेसर स्टील मिनिस्ट्री ने दिया है नीस्ट के माध्यम से परमजीत जी को, तो इसका हम कितना जल्दी ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इनसे एनकैश करके हम अपने आप को रिकॉग्नाइज करेंगे। सी एवरीथिंग विल फॉलो। मेरी श्रवण भाई से अभी बात हो रही थी कि मार्केट बहुत स्लैग चल रहा है, रेट नहीं मिल रहे, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का बहुत बड़ा इशू हमारे पास है, सब कुछ है, पर हमारे सेक्टर का स्टील और बाकी जो मेन सेक्टर का स्टील, जिसको मेन प्रोड्यूसर कहते हैं, प्राइमरी प्रोड्यूसर कहते हैं, उनके स्टील के प्राइसिंग में डिफरेंस आज भी 6 से 7 रुपए का है, 7,000 रुपीज़ अ टन। हमको नहीं चाहिए बाकी सारी फैसिलिटीज़ कि हमको टैरिफ कम कर दो, सब्सिडी दे दो, हमको सिर्फ लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड दो। और ये लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड देने का जो काम है वो हमको हो सकता है नीस्ट के माध्यम से, स्टील मिनिस्ट्री से ही। तो हमको अपने आप को, स्टील मिनिस्ट्री ने कहा है कि रिकॉग्नाइज करवा लो, लेट अस डू दैट। ये ग्रीन टेक्सोनॉमी है, अभी परमजीत जी नई एक और एक टेक्सोनॉमी लेके आ रहे हैं, वो है क्वालिटी टेक्सोनॉमी। तो क्वालिटी टेक्सोनॉमी में ये है कि हमारे स्टील को एक क्वालिटी सर्टिफिकेशन थ्रू नीस्ट, थ्रू स्टील मिनिस्ट्री दिया जाएगा। और ये बहुत अच्छी बात है, क्योंकि सबको पता है कि हम तो स्टील बनाते हैं और वो भी क्वालिटी बनाते हैं। वेरी प्राउड, वेरी लाउड, हम स्टील क्वालिटी ही बनाते हैं सर, रियली। अरे तो इसमें कोई सिर्फ रिकॉग्नाइजेशन का इशू है, बहुत जल्दी ये जर्नी हम खत्म कर सकते हैं विद द हेल्प ऑफ द नीस्ट। सो थैंक यू टू द नीस्ट, थैंक यू टू MRI। संजय भाई ने बार बार कहा है कि MRI और आईफा ये हमेशा, और मैं वेरी प्राउडली सेइंग दैट कि MRI का झुकाव हमारे स्टील सेक्टर के तरफ है। MRI के बहुत सारे वर्टिकल्स है, पर आप संजय भाई से जब भी बात करोगे वो हमेशा रिसाइकलिंग, स्टील और स्टील मैन्युफैक्चरर्स की बात करते हैं। तो थैंक यू संजय भाई कि ऑलवेज यू टेक ऑन स्टील इंडस्ट्री ऑन प्रायोरिटी। तो ये बहुत बहुत अपने लिए अच्छी बात है, और ये सिनर्जी बनी है। जैसा संजय भाई ने बोला कि हम 10-15 साल के बाद आज ये है कि हम किसी को भी इनवाइट करते हैं, चाहे मिनिस्ट्री से हो, चाहे ब्यूरोक्रेसी से हो, पॉलिसी मेकिंग से हो, सब लोग आते हैं। क्यों आते हैं? क्योंकि वो लोग चाहते हैं कि हम रिकॉग्नाइज हो। तो ये रिकॉग्नाइज वाला फॉर्मूला यहाँ से टेक अवे करके चलते हैं। ये फोरम, ये कॉन्फ्रेंस खत्म होते ही हम लोगों को यहाँ से एक ही टेक अवे लेके चलना है कि लेट अस बी रिकॉग्नाइज्ड। थैंक यू।
किसी भी चीज़ को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए लीडर्स का होना बहुत ज़रूरी है, और अच्छे लीडर्स का। मैं हमारे डायरेक्टर गोपाल गुप्ता जी, जो प्रेसिडेंट एमेरिटस भी हैं आईफा के, उनका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ कि उन्होंने ऐसा रतन ढूंढ के लेके आए। जब आज से आई थिंक 3-4 साल पहले आईफा का इलेक्शंस होने वाला था और बहुत सारे डिस्कशंस चालू थे, योगेश जी को ऐसा ढूंढ के लाए, हमने कभी सोचा भी नहीं था कि योगेश भाई आने वाले हैं। एंड व्हाट अ परफॉर्मेंस इन लास्ट 2 years। आईफा को यहाँ से यहाँ तक लेके जाने के लिए योगेश जी, हार्ट फेल्ट ग्रेटिट्यूड, बिग राउंड ऑफ अप्लॉज टू यू। बहुत अच्छा काम आपने किया है सर। और आईफा, MRI, ये सब साथ में मिलके ही हम आगे बढ़ेंगे। लास्ट 10 साल में मैं आप लोग को बता दूं, हमारे संजय भाई, ही हैज़ पुट सो मच ऑफ एफर्ट्स। आज सब लोग को लगता होगा कि हाँ ठीक है, इतना बड़ा इंडस्ट्री कैसे चलाते हैं, MRI कैसे चलाते हैं। मैं आपको बता दूं, ही हैज़ गिवन अप हिज पर्सनल वर्क, अपना खुद का कंपनी का काम छोड़ के MRI को इतने आगे लेके आए निस्वार्थ भाव से। जब तक कोई अपने ट्रेड की सेवा नहीं करेगा, वो लीडर या वो एसोसिएशन इतने आगे नहीं आएगी। सेम गोज विद योगेश भाई, स्पेंडिंग सो मच टाइम ऑन आईफा, एंड heads off, the secondary steel industry has got these 2 gems which will take secondary steel industry on a very larger notes. Thank you so much. I request Sanjay bhai to kindly felicitate Yogesh bhai, the guest of honor, for our today's session. Abhi. Thank you very much to all the dignitaries who are sitting on the dais. May I request you to please take seats below. और बहुत ज़्यादा धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा हमारे डायमंड स्पॉन्सर्स इलेक्ट्रोथर्म, विपुल भाई एंड टीम। सूरज भाई को हमने यहाँ पे मिस किया, सुरेश सर को मिस किया, बट give our best gratitude. This is our first conference and your support is immense. And we will always keep this in mind, the contribution of Electrotherm. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vipul bhai. Also, a big thanks to all our diamond sponsors, gold sponsors, MTC Group, Guardian Castings, Ganga Recycling Solutions, which is taking a shape. And I'm very proud to announce this, that the second big shredder in the country is going to install very soon. Raghav Productivity Enhancers and Nathani Group. A big thank you to all the gold sponsors for sponsoring this event, and to Electrotherm also for sponsoring as a diamond sponsor. Thank you so much. Now straight away we are going to the next session. I would like to call Shri Dwipan Bhadraji, Director and Head of Civil Engineering Department, Bureau of Indian Standards. Shri Dwipen Bhadraji, Scientist E, Head of Civil Engineering Department at Bureau of Indian Standards, hold a BE in Civil Engineering from IIEST, Sipur, and have over 28 years of experience. He began his career in the construction industry, contributing to major offshore infrastructure projects. Since joining BIS in 2004, he has led key divisions including civil engineering, water resources, laboratory, policy planning, and contribute to ISO standard works. जैसा कि आप लोग को पता है कि सेकेंडरी स्टील इंडस्ट्री में फॉस और सल्फर के लेवल को 0.4 मेंटेन करने के लिए बोला गया है, तो आज सर उपस्थित हैं हमारे बीच में। मैं पहले रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि सर अपना प्रेजेंटेशन दे दें, और उसके बाद जो भी क्वेश्चन आंसर्स हैं, जो भी सवाल हैं आपके मन में, सर यहाँ पे उपलब्ध हैं, आप उनका प्लीज़ पूर्ण लाभ उठाइए। जो भी आपके मन में जो भी संशय है, जो भी चीज़ें हैं, प्लीज़ उसको आगे लेके जाइए। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, Amarji. Before I start, first of all, thank you for inviting me to in this conference, and it's an honor to be here. All the industry stalwarts are there from the government. Tripathi sir is there, Paranjit ji is there. Then from the steel industries, all the dignitaries. I thank you for giving me an opportunity to interact with you people. तो दो तीन चीज़ मैं पहले बोलूँगा before I start my official मतलब जो मेरा presentation और फिर interaction. First is BIS is the national standard body. BIS is not a regulator. ये मैं बार बार सबको बोलता हूँ कि हम लोग standards बनाते हैं सहयोग से. It's not that we come and we make a standard. हमारे सारे stakeholders हैं, stakeholders के साथ हमारा interaction होता है. Then we make a standard. ये जो quality control order आता है या जो mandatory होता है, this BIS does not make it. It is being done by the line ministry. BIS के act के तहत पे, because the BIS जो हमारे act है उसमें वो provision दिया हुआ है. But BIS is only making the standard in consultation with the industry. हम लोग जो standard बनाते हैं वो standard सबके लिए लागू है. Be it is a micro manufacturer, be it is a large scale manufacturer, our standard should fit all. इसमें क्या नहीं है कि आपने जो बोला था 0.4, 0.5, जो भी हमारा जो grades है, हम जो composition बोलते हैं, ये through interaction, through discussion हम लोग इस माध्यम पे आते हैं. And we have now taken a research based approach. हम लोग जो भी decision लेते हैं उसके पीछे reason रहता है. मैं एक चीज़ आपको बोलता हूँ कि हमारा जितना भी standards में हमने जितने भी revisions करते हैं, if you see the minutes of the meeting, you will find every single document, every single clause has been dealt, has been discussed, और उसका justification है why we take X value, why we take Y value. ऐसा नहीं है कि हम लोग ad hocly कुछ करते, and we are always open to discussion. BIS standards are not static. आज मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ 2008 में हमारा 1786 जिसका हम मेन डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं, दैट स्टैंडर्ड केम इन 2008, लेकिन उसके बाद आप देखेंगे 3-4 अमेंडमेंट उसके ऊपर भी आ गया है. सो इट्स नॉट अ स्टैटिक डॉक्यूमेंट. आज भी अगर हम कुछ करें फिर हम देखें कि देर इज सम पेन पॉइंट्स इन द इंडस्ट्री जिसको कोई प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, सम टेक्नोलॉजिकल चेंजेस आर देयर, येस यू कैन कम एंड अप्रोच टू BIS with your justification and adequate data, we'll surely look into it. ऐसा नहीं है कि it's a closed door. और आप देखते हैं कि BIS has transformed over the last 5-6 years also. There has been a lot of stakeholder interaction. हमारे सारे branches, जितने भी हमारे branches, 40 branches है across the states, we do a मानक मंथन with all the industries before whenever a standard is coming. I can personally ensure 14 से 15 मानक मंथन हुआ है on this 1786 across the country, and that is another reason I have come over here. I can assure you we have got around 650 comments on that document. So you can understand the amount of brainstorming we need to do. Amount of brainstorming we need to do to finalize that standard. So ऐसा नहीं है कि just हम लोग कुछ अपना से करें and we just make it by our own free will, नहीं. We have consultation. मैं आपको एक बार just इसलिए I'll just go through few of my slides, उसमें मैं दिखाऊंगा कि how we work, and then I'll come to the main जो pain points हमको बोले हैं कि 1786 का जो हमने अभी रिविजन लिया, टेकअप किया है, इसके लिए मैं बोलना चाह रहा हूँ कि this standard we have taken up for revision. It is not final till now. अभी भी पुराना standard ही चल रहा है, but we have taken it up for revision. We have invited public comments around, बोला जो 650 comments have we already come. We are going to thrash it out. We are going to see कौन सा prawns है, कौन सा चीज़ें हैं, and we will surely look into it. And अगर we will be shortly having a meeting, तो अगर आपका कुछ points अभी भी है, तो within 7 to 10 days you can write to us, you can give us your comments, because we will be shortly having a meeting in mid-November. Third week of November we are planning to hold a meeting. तो अगर आपका अभी भी कुछ है कि नहीं, हमको कुछ देना है, हम द लेटेस्ट जो हम लोग रिवाइज डॉक्यूमेंट सबको submit किया. I think MRI has also got a copy of that, and I think our interaction has also happened with MRI through VC. We had done a interaction with MRI through VC. तो कोई भी कुछ comments अभी भी आपको लगता है कि I am having 2-3 points, तो मैं request करूँगा by next weekend you kindly, today is Sunday, by next Friday, Saturday you kindly send it to us. तो we will, ऐसा नहीं है कि it's not the end of the road. ये churning हमारा होता ही है. It's not the आज हमने बंद कर दिया मतलब हमारा static हो गया document, नहीं. All our documents are dynamic. So you can be rest assured. हमारा एक standard आया, उसके ऊपर कुछ initially industry ने approve हुआ, फिर कुछ comments आया. In another 2-3 months we took out another amendment. ऐसा नहीं है कि we will be stopping, नहीं, standard हो गया तो 3 साल तक कुछ भी नहीं करेंगे, नहीं. Our standards are dynamic. अगर आपका कुछ genuine comments है, but my request is whenever you give your comments, just don't give a generic type of comments. I have shown people कि हमारे पास ऐसे भी 100 comments आए, चिट्ठी आए, 100 letters have come to me with the same word, same wording. Not a single comment is there जिसको हम ले सकते हैं, जिस हाँ the levels are high or the levels are low. High and low is a very generic term. आप क्या लोगे? तो give us proper justification. क्योंकि हमारा standard high and low से नहीं होता है. We give specific interpretations. So ठीक है, without wasting not much time, I'll just start my presentation. Next slide. देखिए, we are having this. I just wanted to show you जो stakeholder हमारा interaction होता है internally also. हमारा sectional committee 37 है, उसमें number of experts 929 है. Sectional committee के नीचे हमारे panels हैं. Panels are on the larger group. 96 उसमें हमारे experts है 1409. Working groups are actually where the standards are written. मान लीजिए आज 1786 के लिए हमारे पास एक वर्किंग ग्रुप है. There may be 5-6 standard experts over there who are actually writing the standard. क्योंकि पूरा 37-40 कमेटी का लोग लेके स्टैंडर्ड राइटिंग नहीं होता. कोर ग्रुप बनाता है, फिर उसको पैनल में जाता है, फिर हमारा सेक्शनल कमेटी में जाता है, फिर वो स्टैंडर्ड बनता है. तो वहाँ पे 662 है एंड टोटल वी आर हैविंग टू द ट्यून ऑफ 3000 एक्सपर्ट्स. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट जब भी हम लोग डॉक्यूमेंट वाइड सर्कुलेशन में भेजते हैं, वाइड सर्कुलेशन इज नथिंग बट फॉर इंड्यूसिंग पब्लिक कमेंट्स. हम लोग तो हमारे पास एक डेटाबेस है वेयर वी हैव अराउंड 25,000 ईमेल आईडी सबको भेजते हैं. हमारे ऑफिस में जो भी लोग आते हैं हम उसका कार्ड लग देते हैं एंड वी सेंड द डॉक्यूमेंट्स टू देम. कभी कभी ऐसे भी होता है, गुस्सा हो जाता है क्योंकि 37 वर्टिकल्स में उसका हो भी सकता है कि इस एरिया ऑफ इंटरेस्ट नॉट देयर, बट स्टिल वी ट्राई टू सेंड द डॉक्यूमेंट्स टू देम. एटलीस्ट दे कैन सी कि अगर उसके पास कुछ रेलिवेंस है so that he can give us a comment. Next slide please. Sorry, कौन सा है? जो हम लोग बोल रहे थे कि हमारा दिस इज जो सिविल इंजीनियरिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स है, सिविल इंजीनियरिंग स्टैंडर्ड, दिस इज अ ब्रेकअप ऑफ द सिविल इंजीनियरिंग स्टैंडर्ड. वी आर हैविंग 1877 स्टैंडर्ड्स जिसमें हमारा प्रोडक्ट स्टैंडर्ड्स है, प्रोडक्ट स्पेसिफिकेशन. जैसे हम लोग 1786 या दूसरे तरफ का हमारा जो वायर्स का स्टैंडर्ड है 1785, तो वो सारे 747 है, हम लोग वो प्रोडक्ट्स के अंडर में आते हैं. इसके सिवा हमारा डिफरेंट मेथड्स ऑफ टेस्ट का स्टैंडर्ड है, कोड्स ऑफ प्रैक्टिस है, टर्मिनोलॉजी है. ये कोड्स ऑफ प्रैक्टिस आर नथिंग बट गुड प्रैक्टिस. These are the methods which we generally adopt when you are going for any design. जैसे हम लोग जो डिज़ाइन करते हैं, स्टील डिज़ाइन करते हैं या हमारा सरिया जो 1786 रखता है, रेनफोर्स कंक्रीट में रखता है, उसका जो हमारा बेसिक कोड है दैट इज़ अ कोड ऑफ प्रैक्टिस फॉर डिज़ाइन 456, तो उसी के अंडर में आता है. और यू कैन सी आउट ऑफ 1877 वी हैव ओनली अडॉप्टेड 67 स्टैंडर्ड. बाकी सारे स्टैंडर्ड हमारे इंडिजिनियस है. बेस्ड ऑन द इंडियन कंडीशंस वी हैव formulated those standards. उसमें these are the number of 252 standards हमारे अभी certification में है under civil engineering. Voluntary है 167, mandatory है around 85. These are the breakup of the licenses. तो total 14,000 license है और 167 और 1786 comes under 85 जो हमारे mandatory products है उसके अंडर में आते हैं. Next. ये हमारा एक कमेटी का ब्रेकअप है. जैसे 33 जो कमिटीज हम बोले थे, दीज आर द, ये हमारा वेबसाइट में है, यू कैन जस्ट सी. ये सारे एनी वर्टिकल इन सिविल इंजीनियरिंग हम लोग का स्टैंडर्ड्स में वो सब्जेक्ट वाइज में कवर्ड है. (24, 32) fire, furniture, structural safety, special earthquake, waterproofing, soil foundation, methods of measurement, safety, national building code, ports and harbors, rock mechanics, plastic piping system, planning and housing. हमारा जो reinforcement committee है that comes under CD 54. अभी उसी का जो standards है मैं आपको वो दिखा देता हूँ कि CD 54 is our concrete reinforcement sectional committee. उसमें this is standardization in the field of reinforcement for concrete including pre-stressing steel. हमारे सारे बाकी सारे जितने भी स्टील होते हैं 2062 वगैरह जो हमारा फ्लैग्स वगैरह हम बोलते हैं, those are covered under our जो metallurgical division में आते हैं. But only 1786 and allied steel which are used in the construction are covered in CD 54. उसमें 21 स्टैंडर्ड हमारा पब्लिश्ड है. हमारे इंटरनेशनल लियाजो हैं ISO TC 17 SC 16 के साथ. और दिस आर द इम्पोर्टेंट स्टैंडर्ड्स विच वी आर वर्किंग. और हमारे 9 वर्किंग ग्रुप्स है वहाँ पे जहाँ पे ये स्टैंडर्ड्स जो भी हमारा रिवाइज हो रहा है और फर्स्ट डिस्कस्ड इन द वर्किंग ग्रुप, ड्राफ्ट बनता है, उसको सर्कुलेट होता है विद इन द कमेटी. कमेटी हाँ करते हैं तो उसको हम लोग वाइस वाइड सर्कुलेशन कराते हैं, वहाँ से भी जो कमेंट्स आते हैं डिस्कस करते हैं। ऐसे भी हुआ है कि हमारा वाइड सर्कुलेशन दो बार हम लोग को वाइड सर्कुलेशन करना पड़ा, क्योंकि द इमेंस नंबर ऑफ कमेंट्स विच वी हैव रिसीव्ड, उसको थ्रैश आउट करके हमने देखा कि जो इनिशियल डॉक्यूमेंट था उसके बाद वो नया डॉक्यूमेंट बन गया। सो वी अगेन गो फॉर अ सर्कुलेशन for getting eliciting comments. So it depends on the documents, the changes which has occurred, the committees, and every single comment you can be rest assured is thrashed out in the committee before it is accepted or rejected. जो हमारा WG2 है, that is exclusively for revision of 1786. इसके साथ में बाकी जो भी हमारा working rules है, those are looking into the revision of our standard. मैं आपको अभी दिखा दूंगा कौन कौन मेंस हमारा स्टैंडर्ड्स है इन दिस। 432 है स्पेसिफिकेशन फॉर माइल्ड स्टील एंड मीडियम स्टील बार्स एंड हार्ड ड्रॉन स्टील बार्स फॉर कंक्रीट रेनफोर्समेंट, माइल्ड स्टील एंड मीडियम टेंसाइल स्टील बार्स। पार्ट थ्रू आता है हार्ड ड्रॉन स्टील बार्स के लिए। 1566 फॉर हार्ड ड्रॉन वायर फैब्रिक फॉर कंक्रीट रेनफोर्समेंट। 1785 पार्ट 1 is specification for plain hard drawn steel wire for pre-stressed concrete. Cold drawn straight steel wire है part 1 and part 2 is for as drawn wire. 1786 HSDS bars जो हम लोग high strength deformed steel bars and wires for concrete industries specification जो है हमारा आज point of discussion. 2090 is for high tensile bars using pre-stressed concrete. 6003 is indented wire for pre-stressed concrete. 6006 is the uncoated straight steel strand for pre-stressed concrete. 9417 is welding of high strength steel bars for reinforced concrete construction. 10790 is method of sampling of steel for pre-stressed and reinforced concrete. Part 1 is for the pre-stressing steel and part 2 is for the reinforcing steel. कैसे हम लोग sampling करेंगे for testing. 12594 is for hot dip coating on structural steel bars for concrete. 13620 is epoxy coated reinforcement bars. 14268 for uncoated stress relieved low relaxation 7 wire ply strand for pre-stressed concrete specification. ये जो हमारा pre-stressing में लगता है 14268 is widely used. ये mandatory भी है. Then we are having this standard 16172 reinforcement couplers for mechanical splices of steel bars. जो हम लोग welding के सिवा we are now going for the couplers. So 16172 is the standard. Then we are having stainless steel bars के लिए 16651 है जो stainless steel bars for concrete reinforcement. 1664 is stress relieved row relaxation steel wire for pre-stressed concrete. 18255 is fiber reinforcement polymers bar for concrete reinforcement methods of test. And 18256 is for the glass reinforced polymer bars for concrete. These are used in non-structural elements जैसे जहाँ पे हमारा वो structural elements नहीं है, जैसे कुछ scarps, side roads जहाँ पे उतना आपका structural element नहीं है, तो we can use those. And finally we have brought out continuous hot dip galvanized steel bars for concrete reinforcement specification 19068. So these standards are there. इसके ऊपर भी अगर आप लोग यूज़ करते हो बिकॉज यू आर ऑल फ्रॉम द स्टील इंडस्ट्री, ये मैक्सिमम हमारे प्रोडक्ट स्टैंडर्ड्स है. अगर किसी का लाइसेंस लेना चाहते हो या अब देना चाहते हो, आपको लगता है कि नहीं इस स्टैंडर्ड में भी कुछ इश्यूज है, प्रॉब्लम्स है, यू कैन ऑलवेज राइट टू अस. हमारा ऑनगोइंग वर्क जो चल रहा है अभी है, हमारा 1786 का रिवीजन चल रहा है. फ्यूशन बॉन्डेड इपॉक्सी कोटेड स्टैंडर्ड के ऊपर रिवीजन चल रहा है. 432 का रिवीजन चल रहा है. हार्ड ड्रॉन स्टील वायर फैब्रिक का रिवीजन चल रहा है. एंड स्पेसिफिकेशन फॉर हाई टेंसाइल स्टील बार यूज्ड इन प्री-स्ट्रेस्ड कंक्रीट. ये सारा रिवीजन अभी इट्स गोइंग ऑन इन आवर डिपार्टमेंट. नाउ कमिंग टू आवर मेन टॉपिक ऑफ 1786. दिस स्टैंडर्ड वी हैव, आई थिंक इन मार्च वी हैव ब्रॉट आउट द वाइड सर्कुलेशन ड्राफ्ट. ये स्टैंडर्ड 2 बार हमारा नॉर्मली 2 to 3 months वी गिव फॉर सर्कुलेशन, लेकिन ये स्टैंडर्ड को हमको 2 एक्सटेंशन करना पड़ा 2 बार. ऑलमोस्ट टिल द एंड ऑफ जुलाई अगस्त वी हैड एक्सटेंडेड द कमेंटिंग पीरियड बिकॉज देयर वाज रिक्वेस्ट फ्रॉम द इंडस्ट्री कि हमें थोड़ा सा टाइम और चाहिए कमेंट देने के लिए. I am not going to discuss mainly the comments over here because that runs into pages. It's around 650. हम आपको यहाँ पे जो हमने major changes propose किया है, please listen. It is only proposed. It is not yet finalized. It is still proposed. तो मैंने वो just आपको एक example हम दे देंगे. First thing is आप देखेंगे कि in the standard, पहले वाला standard में इतना variety था. There was a lot of confusion in the industry. अभी हमने we have standardized it into 3 varieties: 415, 500 and 550. तो 3 ही grade अभी आएगा for used as reinforcement. तो पहले था D variety, S variety, 415, 500, 550, 600, 650, 700. तो सारा कुछ अभी हम लोग सिर्फ 3 वैरायटी रखे हैं और डी एस कुछ भी नहीं रहेगा. या द नंबर फॉलोइंग द सिग्नल एफ रिप्रेजेंट द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ईल्ड स्ट्रेंथ. ईल्ड स्ट्रेंथ के ऊपर हमारा 415 मतलब उसका ईल्ड स्ट्रेंथ होगा 415 MPa. सो दिस इज द मेजर चेंज इन द स्कोप ऑफ द स्टैंडर्ड. इसमें क्या क्या कवर होगा? हॉट रोल स्टील विथ एयर कूलिंग, हॉट रोल स्टील विथ एयर कंट्रोल क्वेंचिंग एंड सेल्फ टेम्परिंग क्वेस्टी एंड कोल्ड वर्क स्टील. ये हमारा पुराना जो था दिस स्टैंडर्ड अलाउज केमिकल कॉम्पोजिशन. जो दीज आर ऑल यू आर नोइंग. अभी हमारा स्कोप में जो चेंजेस हमने रखा है. अच्छा, वी हैव ऑल्सो चेंज द नेम. हमने लिखा है कि रिप्ड स्टील बार्स. We have kept it as ripped steel bars क्योंकि वो reinforcement बहुत जगह में it was giving a confusing meaning. क्योंकि बहुत सारा reinforcement अभी हम लोग use करते हैं, fiber reinforcement use करते हैं, so it was giving a lot of a confusion in the industry. लोग उसको misinterpret भी करते थे. तो now we are giving it a ripped steel bar. उसके ऊपर भी अगर आपका comments है तो you can give it to us. Hot rolled steel, it is covering steel with air cooling. Hot rolled steel with controlled quenching and self tempering, जो हम लोग QST bars बोलते हैं. And finally, cold work steel. This standard admits the use of bars which are supplied in forms of coils and straight bar. This was also there in the initial standard. मतलब जो अभी 1786 हमारा 2008 version है उसमें भी है. And this is also which was there. The bars produced by direct re-rolling finished forged virgin or used on scrap or by rolling material for which the metallurgical history is not known or fully documented are not acceptable by this standard. So this is common for all. पहले भी था standard में, अभी भी है. Title, I mean scope बता दिया. अभी we are coming to the title जो मैंने बताया था. पहले था high strength reformed steel bars and wires. Now we are changing it to reinforcement bars for structural concrete ripped steel bars. We are giving it part 1 अभी because जितने भी हमारे reinforcement fiber reinforcement वगैरह आएगा, we are planning to bring it under one series of numbers so that there is no confusion. So it's ripped steel bars. पहले grades का भी हमने बोला था. We have rationalized the grades. 415, 500 and 550. There is no D and there is no S. पहले हमारा कोई मैंगनीज का रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं था directly. But now we have brought it, have been proposed, and copper it also has been allowed. Copper bearing steel has also been allowed. Limits of other chemicals like sulfurous, phosphorus have been modified. I have got a request here कि हम लोग जो sulfur and phosphorus जो हमने propose किए थे, that is higher. It is difficult for the industry to achieve those standards. So my request is you kindly give your justification. अगर आपके पास international practices भी है तो you kindly share with us. मेरा आज Kamal sir से भी बात हुआ है. He told me he will be sharing me the details. So sir, kindly share me the details. I'll surely look into it. I will give my committee members regarding it. Or देखिए, we have wanted to bring it in aligning with the international standard जो ISO standards है, because now we have to have, because this जो हमारा FTA वगैरह होता है उसमें the common language is the standards. So if the standards are matching, so it's a good way for you also to export your materials to outside countries, rather than testing for here and the outside countries also. So आप जो सामान बनाएंगे, it will be matching for outside requirement or domestic requirement. So you need not again reinvent the wheel for the, if you want to export your material. पहले हमारा जो था, जो geometry of the reefs, पहले सिर्फ based on area था. अभी there was a lot of resentment. Previous slide. है कुछ any? But there is another 2-3 slides just. This, yes. आप अगर, if you can see, पहले ना previous slide, one sec. If you see कि पहले सिर्फ it was based on the area and there was a lot of confusion among people कि वो अपना हिसाब से design करता था. A lot of complaints used to come to us. तो अभी now we have specified कि आप कैसे, मतलब this is still not final, we have specified कि आप कैसे रिप बना सकते हो, उसका एंगल वगैरह हम लोग दे दिए है. The geometry we had given. So this is one of the major changes which we have brought in, कि हमने geometry यहाँ पे propose कर दिए है. The specific dimension formulas, rib spacing, height, angle, spine inclusion, rib area per unit length we have specified. Next is some grades have been retained, वो तो मैंने पहले ही बता दिया. जो ratio था वो हमने remove कर दिया. Upper limit of tensile strength has been introduced and modulus of elasticity has been introduced. Next point is अगर हम QST करते हैं, if my bar has been manufactured by QST, तो हमने ये etching test लाए हैं to see what is the area, tempered martensite कितना है, कितना ferrite palitesite zones है, वो basic हमारा core आ रहा है कि नहीं. So those things have been specifically mentioned in this revision of the standard. जो mandrel diameter इतना varied था, we have just removed it. अभी सिर्फ पहले आप लोगों को हर एक बार हर एक size के लिए mandrel रखना था. अभी we have streamlined this as per 3 size, as per the 3 grades we have done. 415 के लिए 45 of the size, then 500 के लिए 5 and 550 के लिए आपका 7.5 size of the diameter. पहले अलग था and we have removed the rebending testing. Rebend हमने हटा दिया है. Sizes भी हमने पहले 4 to 50 mm था, अभी हमने 6 mm to 50 mm कर दिया है. पहले जो पुल आउट टेस्ट था, पुल आउट टेस्ट वाज बेस्ड ऑन द कंपैरिजन विद द माइल्ड स्टील बार. अभी हमने वी हैव मेड इट एज पर द टारगेट स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ द कंक्रीट, जिसके ऊपर हम लोग टेस्ट करेंगे 0.64 FCK, not less than 0.64 FCK for the 0.025 mm and 1.61 FCK for 0.25 mm. तो जब भी हमारा केमिस्ट्री आई बार का अब ज्योमेट्री चेंज होगा, वी विल हैव टू परफॉर्म दिस पुल आउट टेस्ट. Calculation of conformity, introduction of probability of failure rate for the manufacturer with acceptability index for variation in individual value and mean values of test. पहले ये था ही नहीं, अभी हमने एक probability of failure, उसमें आपका कितना acceptance criteria है, एक statistical analysis दिया है, जिसमें से you can streamline your processes की failure देखे कि how you can manage your production, which we have introduced. So this is in overall our major changes which we have suggested. So I am again telling you, this is not the final document. सारे 600 comments हमारा discuss होगा, and then we will be finalizing the documents. अभी the house is open. If you are having any specific question regarding 1786 or any other standards, you are free to ask. और मैं वही चीज़ बोलना चाह रहा था जो आज हमदानी जी अभी बोल के गए हैं. He was very, उन्होंने जो बोला, there should not be any difference. 1786 से जो बार बनाएगा, for us BIS, we only see the ISI mark, ऊपर में 1786 and नीचे license number. हमको देखना नहीं है कि वो किसका है. That is for us. आपने बना दिया है, आपका स्पेसिफिकेशन उससे मैच हो रहा है, you are getting a license, you should be at par. उसमें कोई इशू नहीं है. Only thing is you should maintain the quality. देखिए आज अगर हम क्वालिटी नहीं मेंटेन कर सकते, हम जितना भी ग्रीन स्टील बनाए, जितना भी कुछ भी करें, अगर हमारा स्ट्रक्चर रेजिलियंस ना हो, हमारा स्ट्रक्चर फेलियर हो जाए, अगेन वी हैव टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द स्क्रैच. तो मेरा जितना भी हम ग्रीन स्टील बोले, जितने भी हमने अपना ऑल्टरनेट एनर्जी यूज करके बनाए, अगर हम पुराना दोबारा हमको जीरो से शुरू करना पड़ेगा फॉर दैट स्ट्रक्चर, देन अगेन माय फुल एफर्ट हैज गॉन टू वेस्ट. तो मेरे लिए, हमारे लिए BIS जब स्टैंडर्ड्स बनाता है, आप कहीं पे भी नहीं देखेंगे कि वही 5-6 मैन्युफैक्चरर्स के लिए नहीं बनाते, हम बनाते हैं सबके लिए. हमारा जो बिल्डिंग बनता है, हमारा जो स्टैंडर्ड्स बनता है, डिज़ाइन है, वो 1 स्टोरी बिल्डिंग के लिए भी है, 16 मंजिला बिल्डिंग के लिए भी है, 250 मंजिल बिल्डिंग के लिए भी है. इट्स नॉट दैट वी आर मेकिंग समथिंग स्पेसिफिक टू समवन, it is for all. So that is the beauty of the standards. That is the beauty of the standards, and it's not that all sides, one size fits all. हम लोग बनाते हैं स्टैंडर्ड्स, इसीलिए हम लोग ग्रेस डेडिग्नेशन देते हैं कि हम जो आज मान लीजिए हमने 2 मंजिला बिल्डिंग के लिए जो टाइप ऑफ सरिया यूज़ करेंगे, हम लोग जो 16 मंजिल 30 मंजिल 50 मंजिल बिल्डिंग बनाते हैं, जिसका 150 मीटर 180 मीटर का हाइट का बिल्डिंग होता है, उसके लिए हम लोग सरिया अलग तरह, अलग डायमेंशन का बनाएंगे, मतलब साइज़ का बनाएंगे. जो 1 स्टोरी 2 स्टोरी बिल्डिंग के लिए हम लोग जो साइज़ मेंशन करेंगे, दैट विल श्योरली नॉट बी फॉर द स्टोरी विच इज़ 180 मीटर्स इन हाइट. तो इट्स नॉट वन साइज फिट्स ऑल, लेकिन क्वालिटी ऑफ द मटेरियल एट द एंड ऑफ द डे should match. That is irrespective of primary manufacturer, secondary manufacturer, सब के लिए. अगर आप 1786 देखेंगे, there is no टाइप कास्ट की, ये प्राइमरी के लिए है, सेकेंडरी के लिए है, लार्ज स्केल के लिए है, स्मॉल स्केल के लिए है, नथिंग. इट इज फॉर ऑल हु आर गोइंग टू मैन्युफैक्चर 1786. श्योर, बताइए.
Good evening, sir. This is Dr. Swaren Bedarkar from Electrotherm India Limited. I'm a metallurgist in a company. So it was really a nice presentation, and you mentioned that you have taken all the suggestions and before giving the new draft. We have also submitted our comments, but the important thing, I would just like to ask you two questions regarding that. You said that you have reduced the numbers to 415, 500 and 550. I mean, previously there were 500, 500D,
Yes.
so many, up to 700. So, but sir, I mean, previously I would say we were having choices that if it is really a high riser, then we can go up to 700, FE 700 or 650.
उसमें क्या हो रहा था ना सर, मैं आपको अभी बता रहा हूँ. Why we were using this seismic grade and all these things. अभी आप देखेंगे हमारा जो डक्टाइल डिटेलिंग का भी एक स्टैंडर्ड है, आई थिंक यू नो, हमारा जो 1893 है, दैट हैज आल्सो बीन रिवाइज्ड. उसका अभी हम लोग 3 वर्टिकल्स लेके आ रहे हैं. सीरीज ऑफ एक है, आप देखेंगे 1893 का एक सीरीज बन रहा है. उसके साथ हमारा 13920 भी एक स्टैंडर्ड है, द डक्टाइल डिटेलिंग्स ऑफ सीस्मिक बिल्डिंग्स, और एक रेट्रोफिटिंग का स्टैंडर्ड है 13935 आई थिंक. वो तीनों स्टैंडर्ड का वी आर नाउ ब्रिंगिंग इट इन लाइन विद द 1786. 1786 इज आवर बेसिक स्टैंडर्ड. दिस इज गोइंग टू कम. इसीलिए हमने उसको स्ट्रीमलाइन किए हैं, because a lot of confusion was there and lot of designers. It's not, आप जो बोल रहे हो ना, it was a pain point for the industry, क्योंकि आज उसको कितने तरह का मैनुअल, कितने तरह का सेट्स रखना पड़ता था, and then they used to change just for the sake of it. And the designers also used to, मतलब it was wrongly interpreted in the industry. Now we are making the design standards, हम जो 456 बना रहे हैं एंड 1893 बना रहे हैं, उसके हिसाब से ही हमने अभी जो हमारा मेन डिज़ाइन स्टैंडर्ड, उसके हिसाब से ही हमने ये स्ट्रीमलाइन किए हैं. दिस वाज द इनिशियल अप्रोच व्हिच वी हैव टेकन फॉर स्ट्रीमलाइनिंग दिस. कि एक जो हम लोग स्टील बनाएंगे, वो स्पेसिफिक स्टील, उसमें हमारा जो इलोंगेशन रहेगा दैट विल बी फिटिंग ऑल.
सर, बट ये
क्योंकि अभी हमारा वो जोनेशन भी चेंज हुआ. इफ यू गो टू द NDMA वेबसाइट, हम आप जो देखेंगे जिसके ऊपर हम लोग अर्थक्वेक जोनेशन वगैरह किए हैं, बिकॉज वी वर एस ग्रेड, हम लोग किसके लिए बोलते थे, सिस्मिक के लिए बोलते थे. अभी हम लोग वो जोनेशन भी चेंज किया है, बिकॉज नाउ हम लोग का जो द सिस्मिक वल्नरेबिलिटी इंडेक्स फॉर द एंटायर रीजन, वी हैव डन अ थॉरो एनालिसिस. पहले हम लोग का प्रोबेबिलिस्टिक से हम लोग किए थे कि कितना कितना अर्थक्वेक आया है प्रीवियसली, उससे हम लोग करते थे. अभी हमने एक्चुअली उसको टेस्टिंग करके देखे हैं कि विच आर द जोन्स वल्नरेबल. इसीलिए अभी हम लोग जोन 6 तक लेके गए हैं, 2 to 6, एंड वी हैव चेंज सम जोन्स बेस्ड ऑन द एक्चुअल डेटा विच वी हैव कलेक्ट. एक ट्रापाटाइट स्टडी हुआ था जिसमें IIT Madras did that study under the aegis of NDMA and BIS was monitoring it. तो उसी हिसाब से हमने वो मैपिंग चेंज किया है. And there was a query in the industry and also in the designer circle कि वो एस ग्रेड को लेके ना, there was a lot of confusion कि हम लोग कैसे यूज़ करेंगे, डिटेलिंग कैसे करेंगे. Now we are streamlining this 456 along with the 13920 so that there is no confusion between the mother standard and the 13920. आप पहले देखेंगे there were some variations. 13920 और 1786 में कुछ जगह में there were collision. We tried to bring it. That was the reason. अगर आपको लगता है कि इंडस्ट्री से है कि नहीं, all other zones are required, क्योंकि इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड में भी देखेंगे कि इतना वेरिएशन कहीं पे है नहीं.
जी.
So that was the reason for bringing this streamlining.
जी. सर, इंडक्शन फर्नेस प्लेयर्स,
but it is still under discussion. हमने comments हमने आपको वही बोले हैं कि this was our initial. I can give you the thought process behind bringing out the revision, but it is still not revised.
ठीक.
So it will come up in due course.
जी. सर, सेकंड क्वेश्चन है कि आपने जैसे मेट्रोग्राफी भी इसमें इंट्रोड्यूस किया है कि मेटलोग्राफी भी इसमें इंट्रोड्यूस्ड है
मेटलोग्राफी वी हैव ओनली ब्रॉट फॉर द क्यूएसटी बार्स. अगर आप
Yeah.
क्यूएसटी प्रोसेस से करते हो, इट इज एप्लीकेबल फॉर दैट.
But sir, I mean, the metallurgical comment is that carbon is very low. It is very difficult to form martensite, where you are mentioning tempered martensite and benitic structure. So even if we have optical microscope, if we try to identify benitic, it is very difficult.
लेकिन ये जो हमने टेस्ट बोला है, इसके लिए आपको आई डोंट थिंक यू विल बी रिक्वायरिंग ऑप्टिकल माइक्रोस्कोप.
वही इस सर स्कैनिंग इलेक्ट्रॉन माइक्रोस्कोप चाहिए, which is very difficult for any ordinary steel maker to have that
आई
SEM.
डोंट थिंक इट इज रिक्वायर्ड, क्योंकि आप अगर देखोगे पहले भी हम लोग एचिंग टेस्ट था, वो बाद में हटा गया.
Sir, benite is very difficult to identify. My comment is only that with ordinary eye or optical microscope, any metallurgist cannot identify whether it is benite or not. So that is.
ठीक
a
है,
comment.
आई अंडरस्टैंड ना. अगर हम देखते हैं कि समथिंग विच इज नॉट, जिसके लिए हमें बहुत कुछ इन्वेस्ट करना पड़ रहा है, वी विल श्योरली लुक इनटू इट.
Sure, sure. Sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any further questions can be emailed to you. MRI's mail at mri.org.in, sir. Because of the
Good afternoon, sir. I think you might have already got this representation from the industry regarding the maximum sulfur and the phosphorus content. To be very brief, I just wanted to make the point that
See, I know that I have already received. My request is, if you still have, I have given you time till next week, because my meeting is coming up. So if you have any query with your suggestion and appropriate justification, if you have any international standards and things, you kindly refer to that and give your comments at CED.
I have a question on behalf of the industry. Those
Behalf
are
of?
arts, on the behalf of the industry. 2008 से हमारा IS स्टैंडर्ड चल रहा है, जहाँ सल्फर और फॉस की मैक्सिमम लिमिट मेंशन्ड है. कोई ऐसे, आपने कहा कि इंडस्ट्री आपको रेफरेंसेस दे दे, क्या BIS के पास ऐसे रेफरेंसेस हैं कि जो 20 साल में बिल्डिंग्स बनी हैं इस स्टील को यूज़ करते हुए, वो फेल हुई हैं या इंडियन कंडीशंस को हमारे वो वायलेट करती हैं? सर लेट मी कंप्लीट द क्वेश्चन.
Let me just give you. See, there have been studies जो हमारे पास आए हैं, कि हमने देखे कि फॉस्फोरस के ऊपर बेस करके ड्यूरेबिलिटी इश्यूज आए हैं इन द बिल्डिंग्स. अभी वो देखिए, ड्यूरेबिलिटी इज अ वेरी बिग सब्जेक्ट. देयर आर लॉट ऑफ फैक्टर्स इन्वॉल्व. तो उसमें से देयर हैव बीन इश्यूज कि हाँ, उससे हमने ड्यूरेबिलिटी इफेक्ट किया है. द ड्यूरेबिलिटी इशू ऑफ द कंक्रीट, मतलब जो स्ट्रक्चर्स हमने बनाए उसमें इफेक्ट्स आए. फॉर दैट रीजन वी हैव रैशनलाइज द कंटेंट ऑफ द फॉस्फोरस ऑल्सो. लेकिन फॉस्फोरस अगर हमने हाई फॉस्फोरस यूज़ करने के लिए भी वहाँ पे डाले हैं. अगर इफ़ यू सी द नोट, अगर आप 1786 का नोट देखोगे, एग्जिस्टिंग नोट, एंड अभी का जो हमने स्टैंडर्ड सर्कुलेट किया है, उसमें भी आपका नोट है, देखोगे हाई फॉस्फोरस अगर आप यूज़ भी करते हो, उसके लिए हमने बाकी अलॉयस का एक बैलेंसिंग फैक्टर दिया है. यू कैन यूज़ इट बाय दैट यू कैन ऑल्सो यूज़ इट. उसमें क्या है, ओनली थिंग इज वाई वी आर इंसिस्टिंग कि आप लोग अपना सी, बहुत जगह में ऐसे क्या होता है कि आप लोग व्हेन यू आर डूइंग द स्टील, वी आर लीविंग इट टू द स्क्रैप, और जो हमारा रॉ मटेरियल्स है उसके ऊपर यू हैव टू हैव अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ अ इंजीनियरिंग इन्वॉल्व, कि मैं जो स्टील बना रहा हूँ उसमें अगर हम फॉस्फोरस हाई दे रहे हैं, बाकी हमारा केमिकल बैलेंसिंग कैसे करना है. तो दोज थिंग्स यू हैव टू लुक इनटू. आप मेरे पास आ जाओ, मैं आपको दिखा दूंगा कैसे हमारा बैलेंसिंग का दिया हुआ है इन द स्टैंडर्ड. यू कैन फॉलो इट. उसमें से ऊपर भी आपको अगर लगता है कि दिस इज नॉट पॉसिबल फॉर द इंडस्ट्री, with proper justification and international standard, you can always write to us.
Also, sir, you had mentioned very one good point कि जो स्टील 2 मंजिला इमारत के लिए चाहिए, वही स्टील 18 मंजिला इमारत के लिए नहीं चाहिए.
मैंने क्या बोला? नहीं, I am not telling you. I am telling you regarding the size of the bars, not the quality of the bars.
Correct. So my
आज
point
हम
is
415 से अगर हम 1 मंजिला जहाँ पे हमारा सीस्मिक जोन नहीं है, हम बना सकते हैं. If I am going for a high-rise building, उसमें I can use a higher grade of steel, I can use a higher grade of concrete. वो हमको डिज़ाइन करना पड़ेगा. That is the concept. That is the reason why we are telling कि उसको actually डिज़ाइन करना पड़ेगा. We are forgetting this many times. हम लोग सोचते हैं हाँ कुछ भी एक ज़्यादा स्टील दे दो, हमारा घर, सबको आप किसी को जाके बोलो कि मेरा घर में मैं स्टील कम कर रहा हूँ, अरे नहीं नहीं 2-4 और भी सरिया डाल दो, कोई अपना घर बना दो। लोगों के पास कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं है। पीपल दे थिंक कि हाँ जितना स्टील डालेंगे अच्छा हो जाएगा। हमारा ऑल द स्ट्रक्चर्स वी आर मेकिंग, हमारे जितना भी स्ट्रक्चर्स होता है, कंक्रीट स्ट्रक्चर्स जो है, वी आर मेकिंग इट अंडर रेनफोर्स। वाई? बिकॉज हमारा पहले रेनफोर्समेंट फेलियर होगा, फिर हमारा स्टील फेलियर होगा। आई एम talking from a technical point of view.
Sir,
Why
just my couple of suggestions and my submissions कि हम unnecessary gold plating ना करें। अगर हमारा स्टील ग्रेड मीट हो रहा है 550 ग्रेड, जहाँ स्ट्रेंथ मिल रही, डक्टिलिटी मिल रही है, एनर्जी रेशियो मिल रहा है, लेट मी कंप्लीट सर, लेट मी कंप्लीट प्लीज। देन आई थिंक दिस इज़ वन इंडस्ट्री जहाँ पे 50% स्टील सेकेंडरी से बनता है। इंडिया की करंट आयरन ओर कंडीशंस, द ट्रॉपिकल क्लाइमेट दैट वी हैव इन इंडिया, we don't require that much maximum limit of sulfur and phos, and probably again this might be a thing जहाँ पे सिर्फ representation नहीं, probably a more panel discussion might help a lot, sir. This is my humble submission.
ठीक है, आप comments दे दीजिएगा।
May I request audience if is there any further more questions can be taken on a one-to-one, or I would request you to please email it to MRI, mail@mri.org.in, so that we can share those questions to the Badra sir after this conference. Thank you so much, sir, for making this a wonderful presentation, very elaborated on this 1786, which is IS standard, which is mainly for the steel structures, for quality and its durability. Thank you so much for all the wonderful presentation. On behalf of that, now to do the honors, may I request Mr. Zain Nathani, sir, Director MRI, to be on the dais to felicitate Sri Badra sir as well. Yeah.
I would request all the attendees, Mr. Badra is here till 6:37. If anybody wants to interact with him one-to-one, he can do that. Thank you.
Amar Singh ji to take the second session, last day of the session. So, yeah. Request audience is going to be one of the important sessions to close the day one. So, please be here. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the session on green steel market. procurement and policy initiatives. I would like to welcome Mr. Abhijit Kulkarni, Senior Partner, Ernst & Young, who would be the moderator for this session. Mr. Abhijit Kulkarni is a Senior Partner with EY Parthenon with over 22 years of experience. He specializes in strategy and large-scale value-driven transformation programs for metals and natural resources companies across India, Africa, Southeast Asia, and Australia. He leads EY's work in industries and decarbonization. He has led a large ESG transformation effort for a multi-continent natural resources player, formulating end-to-end ESG strategies, delivering over $100 million through decarbonization while improving their ESG ratings. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaskaram, everyone. I think after a very informative session on the BIS standards, I think we are here to talk about green steel. Before we get started, let me, introduce to you our panelists, my fellow panelists who are there. I'll call each of you one by one. First, Mr. Tyagarajan, GM. He is Counselor, GreenPro CII. Mr. Tyagarajan leads eco-labeling initiatives for the steel and cement sectors under the GreenPro Eco-Label program. With over a decade of sustainability experience at L&T Construction and JLL, he is a certified energy auditor and IGBC accredited professional promoting green building and sustainable materials. Welcome, Tyagarajan. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Tarun Garg. He's a director at RMI Foundation India. Over 15 years of experience in promoting heat-resilient and low-carbon built environments. He focuses on advancing sustainability in steel, cement, cooling, and energy efficiency across India, Asia, and Africa. Thank you, Tarun. Next, Mr. Deepak BH. Please welcome. General Manager at Toyota Kirloskar Motor Private Limited. Has over 20 years of experience in procurement and supply chain. With Toyota since 2003, he has led initiatives in supplier development, cost optimization, and sustainable sourcing. Last but not the least, may I invite Mr. Rajat Kaushik, Senior Market Analyst at Metalogic PMS. He leads the market analysis team for steel and raw materials at Metalogic, and with a strong experience in these sectors, has contributed to policy recommendations, industry forums, and strategic insights that shape decision-making and value across the value chain. So thank you all for having. I think in the interest of time, we are running late by close to an hour. So we'll try and give back some time in this session, but hope to have engaging discussions as we go along. Maybe we start with the first presentation. I'll open the session with a short commentary on what it looks like for green steel market. What we'll cover today in this, let's move forward. Can I, sorry. I think three things I want to talk about today. First is, what is the green steel outlook, particularly in India and for exports? What does that mean? What are the drivers? Second, we'll talk about what will it take to boost green steel dynamics in India. And finally, I think an important one, which is to say, can we make in India, make for the world for green steel? But I think before we get there, what is green steel and how do we define it? I know the government of India, and India was one of the first countries to come up with sort of a taxonomy, which says all the way from 1.6 ton of carbon dioxide per ton of steel to all the way to 2.2. I think everything is sort of classified between 3, 4, 5 stars. But if you look at this, green steel is anything which is 0.1, 0.05 ton of CO2. Today, in India, we have mostly blast furnace, BOF, which is there, which is maybe 2, maybe even 3 ton. Even if you go with natural gas based DRI, or if you add carbon capture to the BF-BOF route or the scrap, okay, I think you get to 0.7, 0.5. The real green steel actually comes with a scrap electric arc furnace at 100% renewables, or eventually an EAF with a hydrogen DRI. I think that's where hydrogen is a reducing agent, and that's where we have to get to as green steel. I think we understand all of this, but not necessarily, look at it this way. So green steel will be only classified as 0.1 and below. And this is a simple thing that steel, if you look at rate of emissions versus energy consumption, steel and refining for that matter are frankly high emission sectors, and therefore important, particularly for ensuring export competitiveness. We need to make our journey there. By the way, India, with our slogan of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, environment is embedded in our development, as our Honorable Prime Minister also has said. Our journey began way back in 2005. Even while the COPs and other things were happening, I think India, frankly, in spite of being a developing country, has made commitments of carbon neutrality at 2070, and we have stuck to that commitment even in this uncertain geopolitical world, where particularly US and Europe and other developed countries who have polluted the world in their development journeys are fearful of fully committing to. I think on the interesting part on this slide is simple. All that has happened to 2023, as I said, the draft taxonomy classification, India was the first country to come up with that for green steel. But going forward, I think is what's going to be interesting. As the National Green Hydrogen Mission, the 14-point agenda which has come up from Ministry of Steel, I think those are very interesting things to look at and can provide impetus. Our research, both in terms of looking at numbers, but more importantly by having over 500 conversations globally, what we see that today, and let's say in 2025, less than 1% of the steel produced is green steel. By 2050, if the commitments made by countries are kept at, close to 50% of the steel that gets manufactured will be green steel. Not easy. As we reach more than 2 billion tons of steel, 1 billion ton of that will be green steel. For India, it's a question mark. Today, we are about 40% BOF and 60% electric arc furnace, induction furnace. Based on our plans for 2050, where we want to get to 500 million ton of installed capacity, somewhere around 400 odd production of crude steel. The way we are going right now, we are going to actually flip on the negative side. So from 40% BOF, we are actually moving towards 60% BOF the way we are going today. I think this needs a rethink, because that will mean our emission intensity of steel will be more than 2.5. Where we want to get to is 0.5, which will mean a whole set of things that need to be done. Renewables, energy efficiency, scrap, green, hydrogen-based, all of this, which will also mean that the BOF share has to be 35%. I think very quickly I'll cover on where our demands are likely to come from. And this green steel demand will come primarily from construction, infrastructure, automotive. That's where we will be. No one can gaze into the future, and 2050, so I can tell you that if I could sort of predict this, I would rather not be here and predicting the stock market and making money for myself. But at least what we see, I mean, one thing we can say from all these mathematics which is there, up to 2030, maybe up to 2035, it's the reality is the growth is going to be sluggish. Amongst these 150 million tons that we talk about, overall steel, will hardly touch 20 million ton by 2035, which is 10 of green steel, which is 10 years away. And these three sectors are one which we have to look for. I know there was a passionate gentleman who is no longer here, but was talking about, standards on the construction part of it. And there the green steel will, and the reason why we are saying this demand will come is primarily because individual companies are committing to some goals. And even if they want to get to 10% of that by 2035, this is where the demand will be. Supply, unfortunately, is going to lag the demand. This is the key message from here. We are, as India, not geared up for that 0.5 ton emission of green steel. But there are other players where they are, in Europe, for example. And look at two players, SSAB and H2 Green Steel. From automakers primarily, they are today commanding a premium of anywhere between $250 to $300 per ton for their green steel. And that's a template that we'll have to look at carefully when we think about India. I think this is a simple understanding of what the world is doing. I think US is not progressively moving towards what their commitments were. Europe, given the current war in Ukraine and the situation there, is sticking to commitments but moving much slowly. China and India are the ones who are not only committing to this but also moving ahead. China more so, moving ahead in this direction. The real thing will be CBAM. I mean, we make a lot of money through exports, and I think that's the area where the realizations are larger. And if we have to keep getting those premiums with CBAM coming in, green steel and efficiency improvements are going to be critical. I think just one simple thing I like to say, that while construction and infra are the main ones, I know Deepak is here, I have a lot of hope on automotive. The reason for that is that a 25% increase in price of steel typically results into 1% rise of vehicle production cost. So if any sector which will probably lead, it has to be automotive on the green steel perspective. For India, many other countries are there, but I'd like to leave you one thought on this slide, is for green steel to pick up and sustain, we will need a premium of $200 per ton over today's prices, say $500 per ton, for it to become viable, given the investments that are required, whether it's on carbon capture, whether it's on hydrogen, whether it's on renewables, and so on. As we know, today typically if one looks at 1 million ton of steel capacity to be put in, anywhere between $600 to $700 million is what you need. If we have to go to green steel, that 600-700 million becomes 1,200 million. So to be able to justify that, you need to have some premiums, which we believe is about $200 per ton for a country like us. Reality is we talk a lot about green steel, but not much is happening on the ground in actual production. And the reason is because across policy, supply and demand, there is a balance. Will the customers pay for that premium? And what are the policies that will come in? I think that's where it's going to be important. I think my time is up. But that's the equilibrium that we need to talk about. I think there is a set of things that the industry needs to do, which is on strategic partnerships and on investing and collaborating on technology. But I think the government will have an important role to play, whether it is incentivizing production of green steel, ability to provide that viability gap funding, I think is going to be very, very critical. And finally, carbon pricing is going to be important. I think I'll conclude finally with just 6 points if we have to take back on what we spoke so far. At least in India, green steel is not really happening at scale without mandate. As we saw earlier, the scale will come only after another 10 years, but requires investments now and requires both positive and penal incentives for this to happen. Which means that the CCTS framework needs to be strengthened with somewhere between $90 to $100 per ton of that 200 that we saw has to come from here. Some sort of incentivization, some sort of viability gap funding. And I know as we think of it today, our capacities post-COVID have come in and our consumption has not necessarily increased substantially that we had thought it to be. But this is the time really to ramp up, because as our intensity increases from around 60s to 100s to 150 over the next decade, I think green steel will have a role to play. For that to happen, my third point is indigenization of those critical technologies is a must, because we are paying through the nose to all these foreign players. Start with strategic partnerships, collaborations on technologies, move towards indigenization. Industry needs to do this very, very strongly. I know the previous Secretary of Steel has talked enough on this, but extremely, extremely important. Collaboration between suppliers, end users, and producers goes without saying. I think some burden there will have to be shared. An end-to-end benefit mindset has to be taken. Pilots have started. I think I'm sure you have heard about Kalyani Steel starting with some sort of, fungible capacities. I think both MSMEs and large players have a role to play. 50% of our steel comes from MSMEs. You can think about, and I know there'll be this whole concessional financing that needs to be looked at and that needs to be answered. But pilots from MSMEs, I think, could be very, very useful. And you will make a lot of money as CBAM and exports sort of come in. And last but not the least, again, circular economy will be critical. As scrap becomes important, a lot of that green steel route, for smaller players at least, is through scrap. Whether it's recycling of that scrap or in general the whole circular economy, I think is going to be, those mechanisms are going to be important. That supply chains are going to be important. I think with that, thank you for your time. On this one, let me invite Tyagarajan to come in and make a quick presentation for us.
Thanks, Abhijit, for your kind introduction, and thanks, MRI, for giving us this opportunity to speak. Presentation. So I'd like to start my presentation with setting the context of my presentation by giving a small introduction to eco-labeling and what is this about. So eco-labeling is a voluntary mechanism of environmental performance certification, and why it is done is like to give the consumer a credible information of the environmental performance. So that's the idea of getting a product eco-label, and globally if you see there are 3 kinds of eco-label: type 1, type 2 and type 3. So type 2 is something that on self-declaration. Type 3 is something very similar to EPDs where your environmental performance will be declared, but if it is a green or non-green they will not specify. And type 1 is something that it has a standard framework for each of your product, and if you are eco-labeled by type 1, then you are a green product for sure. So that's the assurance that type 1 eco-label gives. And with respect to Green Pro is the only type 1 eco-label available in India, which is accredited by the Global Eco-Labeling Network. So Global Eco-Labeling Network is a condominium of 30 plus eco-labels across 60 plus countries, which means you get a Green Pro eco-label, you are recognized globally. So these are the key areas that we evaluate a product, starting from the product's design, product performance, raw material, manufacturing process, which involves the energy efficiency, water efficiency, the renewable energy integration, waste management, life cycle, the product stewardship, and innovation. So if you see this cycle, like the product is evaluated on its complete life cycle and we give an eco-label for the product. So if you see the market capability of GreenPro, we started with 50 products in 2050 and we are 12,000 plus products today with 600 plus manufacturers and 41 plus categories. And if you want to construct a building today with GreenPro certified products, and today to an extent of 95% of building material cost, it is possible. So that's the market strength of GreenPro today. So why I'm setting this context for now is like with respect to steel, 1,500 plus products across 70 plus manufacturers are eco-labeled with GreenPro. So why it's important to set this context is like, so with the respect decade journey of GreenPro, so the learnings of GreenPro in getting this green market developed, so that can act as a backbone for developing this green steel market now. So to develop this ecosystem, one of the key area where we focus is to create this green market. In 2015, way back we started, there was a larger demand for green buildings that are coming up in the country. And these green buildings had a very good scope and good opportunities for green products to come into use into these green products. So we started eco-labeling building materials first. So this way, we open the gate for our manufacturers getting eco-labeled with us to capture this market. So one way of increasing their market capability. Second is on the green procurement aspect. So GreenPro has been extensively working on both the government procurement agencies as well as the private procurement agencies in including this GreenPro in their procurement guidelines and as well as their tendering documents, which means there is a potential for GreenPro manufacturers to go and sell their product in this area. So again, a green market creation activity. Third is on the internationalization market. So a product who is manufacturing in India, getting eco-labeled in India, we are not helping them only with the Indian scenario. So we are supporting them with the GEN accreditation, which means like any country which is specifying type 1 eco-labeled, our manufacturer who is getting eco-labeled here will be able to sell their product outside India. And again, any country which is having a very specific type 1 eco-label mentioned, there we enable the manufacturers to get a EC certification process, which means like we have MOU with our partner eco-labels, which makes the process simpler for our manufacturers to go and target the international market. So second is on the product assurance. So one of the key criteria in which like we evaluate the product is the product meeting the intended product performance, which is on the quality aspect. Second is product performing the green aspect. So how green the product is, how the quality the product is. So both the areas we cover as a part of evaluation, and at the end of the process, we give our manufacturer the GreenPro logo for them to endorse in their product. Which means a consumer need not do his R&D every time. Seeing this GreenPro eco-label, he can directly buy his product from the manufacturers. So next is on the cost competitiveness. So every level of evaluating the GreenPro, especially during the renewals and other processes, so it involves the manufacturers to go in for an energy efficient, water efficient, renewable energy integration, CO2 efficient, as well as a raw material reduction phase, which means they reduce their production cost, which means they are into the profits and becoming competitive in the market. So second, last is on the marketing and the digitalization aspect, which means like every year whoever is getting eco-labeled with GreenPro, we organize an award and recognition session where they can promote themselves to the fraternity. And again, wherever CII is conducting an kind of an activity or a conference, we give the opportunity for the GreenPro manufacturers to project their product in their expos. Third is on the cost competitors. Third is on the digital repository. So today, if a manufacturer is getting eco-labeled with us, next minute their product will be visible in their digital repository of us. This is a public repository where the fraternity will be connected. So when a consumer needs a green product, he need not contact GreenPro. He goes to a public website, he gets the product information there. Directly he will be able to connect with the manufacturer. So that's the digitalization the GreenPro has been working for this past decade. And on the education aspect, we conduct frequent webinars, we conduct training sessions to many of the fraternity here. So the green word goes around the fraternity who is in the using this product. So this creates a market potential for the manufacturers to go. See, having said this ecosystem for development of the green market, so incentivization and policy is one of the catalysts which can grow this ecosystem to perform the green market better. So first is on the green financing aspect. So our decarbonization investment that is required for our existing steel plant is around 283 billion USD, which is a bigger investment, and banks and other government agencies has to support the industry in terms of getting approvals for this loan, getting green loans, and again at a lesser interest. So this is one of the key aspects of making the steel industry green. And again on the procurement policies. So every procurement policy, the government tender that is going to bring it now has a mention of this green steel into them. And not only the mention of green steel, the implementation aspect, like once the project is completed, how they are going to verify it. It's very, very key. Because many of the areas we see the mention of the green products, and again later stage, that monitoring is not available. So how they are going to mention it in their procurement policy, and again how they are going to monitor it. So that will be a key for the journey of green steel. And again on the green campaigning aspect. So anyone will be aware of this BE star rating now. Why it has happened is like, Bureau of Energy Efficiency promoted the star rating in a very larger way. Campaigns were there, like the TV advertisements were there, again the FN campaigns were there. So by this, the word of green reached every consumer that they're going to buy. Similar to that, to make the environmental conscious buyer to buy a green steel, this campaign has to happen from the government perspective. Next is on the incentivization of the green companies. So whoever is the company who is becoming green, some sort of tax exemption or some kind of fee reduction in terms of the pollution control board fees or any of the aspects has to be focused on, which can help the industry to initially balance the larger investments they are going to do. And again on the import and export market. So export market, like whatever manufacturers who are getting green labeled in India, they should be able to export their products. Some kind of an regulatory easiness to export the product should happen. And again, the global regulations such as CBAM, whatever evaluation that we are planning to make the product green, that should align with the CBAM regulation and other things, so that any manufacturer who is going to go to the export market, the processes will become little easy for the manufacturer. So again on the statutory approvals. So any green initiative, green project or a renewable energy project, the statutory approval should be faster, which means there should be a standard deadline for them to either accept or reject. So the word of acceptance or rejection should come within the standard time. So this way, greener project will not have any kind of an hindrance in implementation part. So thank you for your.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you, MRAI, for inviting us, giving us this opportunity. I'm Tarun Garg from RM India Foundation. We are a global think tank, 40 years old, working in this industry of climate change mitigation and adaptation. And I think a lot of known faces here. I would like to thank Bhatia ji, for supporting us in this for the last 18 months. Harsh from Central World, MRAI, of course. Before I start, I would like to discuss few points that we came across when we were looking at, what will it take for a developer to think about, low carbon steel, why he or she will think of a green steel. So if you look at, the demand side, so there are three important actors we are talking about: investors, developers, and consumers. What's exists for each of these stakeholders when it comes to green steel or green homes. So right now the answer is, for a developer it's brand, ESG mandate, but for a consumer right now it's nothing, and for an investor again the position from which he's coming in. But there's hardly any regulation that can sort of push the industry or the developers to start thinking about going beyond what exists in the market, whether it's 5-star green taxonomy certified steel or something better. The second point we were looking at is, as my fellow panelists mentioned, CCUS and green hydrogen, it could take some time. I think several studies, we are part of one of the task force that formed by Ministry of Steel. For green hydrogen, it could take another 10 years, 5 years, we don't know. So what are the different pathways through which we can sort of, decarbonize the existing steel that is being used in building and construction? So that was the second question we were asking ourselves. And last but not the least, the important question which, which we all think about is the cost. Who will bear the burden of first cost? Is it going to be consumer? Is it going to be, developer? Or is it going to be policy maker? So I think with these three thoughts, we started this journey almost 18 months back, and we visited, the Maharashtra cluster, various steel players. We had a very good discussion with few people, in this room. And based on that, I think we were fortunate to release our thought leadership with Ministry of Housing, released by the minister himself and the Secretary of Housing, wherein we have come up with different levers of, looking at how do we decarbonize the construction value chain when it comes to steel. I think one more point which I want to mention, do we all know what is the role of steel in buildings when it comes to emission? The answer could be 15%, 20%, 25%, 30%. I think it's a range. What we have seen, cement concrete is close to 60 to 65%. It could be 50% as well. But in case of steel, we have seen, based on limited analysis we have done, it varies from 15% to 25%. Again, it highlights the importance of steel. And one more point, I think, when we started looking at this sector, where are the maximum opportunities when we have to sort of look at decarbonizing the use of, decarbonizing the emission associated with steel in buildings? 90% lies in the production. So I think that was also very important when we talk about sort of, creating demand for low carbon steel in built environment. With this thought, I think we all know, I'm not going to cover it in detail. We all know, I think as my fellow panelists mentioned, 68% of the steel is being used in buildings and infra, and automotive certainly is going to play a very important role. What we have seen is 3 important production routes. Again, nothing new here. What I want to highlight is, if you look at the highlighted on bars and rods, which is almost 42% of the total finished steel that is being used in the country, and most of it goes to buildings and infra. The second important point is, demand for steel is going to increase in buildings or built environment or infra. The reason is urbanization, more and more houses are going to be built. Several projections say that, 100 million homes are going to be constructed by 2050. Numbers coming from the Ministry of Steel itself, there could be 2x increase in the steel demand in this sector. Now, rebar has a very unique profile. So my case study or my discussion today will focus on rebar because that's, the demand sector I'm representing right now is buildings. And the work we have been doing with a lot of developers in India. So that's why the focus for me and for us as an organization is on the rebar. It has a very unique profile. First of all, it is not exposed to the environment. It becomes part of the overall concrete that is being set up. So that's very important. The second point is, we have seen several quality concerns when it comes to secondary steel or, I think I should say recycled steel. That has been sort of, verified by a lot of developers themselves. They're not thinking that much about the quality part of recycled steel. And what we have also seen, I think currently 70% of the scrap is being recovered, 25% of the scrap we are importing. I think people are quite optimistic about, I think even the ministry is talking about how do we increase this scrap from 15% right now to 50% by 2050. So I think very optimistic scenario when it comes to scrap use in the overall steel production. I think we were also looking at why, I think if you look at the steel emissions at the country level, almost 10 to 12% emissions of India's at the country level is coming from steel. So why? What is the reason? I think we found there are few reasons which we have spoken. I think my fellow panelists mentioned about production process, renewable energy integration, which is captive in nature, is very limited right now, and raw materials, which is like, we're heavily dependent on coal. And what are the key levers? So I think for us, when we started looking at rebar, we thought, and we have seen, I think most of the rebar is produced by a lot of recycled steel players. We came up with 2 levers, and there could be other levers as well, but scrap is a huge lever that is going to play an important role when it comes to decarbonization of rebar. And the second one is the renewable energy integration that we have seen a lot of challenges, whether it's incentive subsidies or the regulation itself. And we did a comprehensive modeling. This was done in partnership with various stakeholders, people like you, people from our industry, ministry, and a lot of experts working in this space. So we came up with various scenarios where we started looking at what would happen if, in case we started increasing the use of scrap, started increasing the use of renewable energy in this sector. Not going deep into it, I think what we saw, there is a potential for us at the product level. If we increase the scrap utilization, I think there is a potential to reduce, overall emission intensity by 30% for BOF process. And then, if you're looking at electric arc furnace, it could be as high as 70%. Similarly, at the building level, what we have seen, if we increase the use of scrap, it will again, further reduce the emission intensity by 17% in a moderate scenario, and it is as high as up to 34% in an aggressive scenario. And again, at a sector level, it has again massive potential. We are looking at almost 40% reduction in energy consumption, if we increase the use of scrap. And I think one of the important questions, as Abhijit mentioned about the green premium of $200 per ton for a steel that is being produced through hydrogen or CCUS or a combination of both. I think what we saw is an opportunity for us to look at the current market and the role of scrap. I think we are working with ARS Steel, we are working with other players, who have already achieved the 5-star current taxonomy which is there. There's an opportunity for us to look at the green premium. I think what we did, this is an attempt from our side to look at what is a green premium. If I think about scrap and renewable energy integration, I think we came up with an answer of 5 to 7%. And there is a perception in the market that it is as high as up to 10 to 15%. But based on our analysis, our discussion with various stakeholders, we came up with this number of 5 to 7%. Happy to discuss separately on this. And I think this is the framework we have given to the ministry. And it has gone to Ministry of Steel, it has gone to Ministry of Housing as well, where we are looking at different levers to sort of, ensure the low carbon steel uptake. When I say low carbon steel, it could be better than 5-star, green taxonomy certified steel, or it could be, 5-star or 4-star as well. So that's why I'm using the low carbon steel word here. There are different levers which we are talking about. I think one of the important levers which I'll talk about in detail, or maybe for a few seconds, is the demand aggregation. So I'll just go to that. So this is an important slide. So globally, as I mentioned, RMI is a global organization. So last year at the New York Climate Week, we have launched this Sustainable Steel Buyers Platform, which is, we have formed this partnership with various buyers like Microsoft, I think a few other names are not mentioned here, Meta, LinkedIn, Amazon, where we have given a demand of 1 million tons of green steel to the industry. And what we are looking at is, how do we mitigate the first cost and bring the industry and the buyers together, to solve the issue of chicken and egg, where industry is always asking the question, where is the demand? And buyers are always asking the question, where is the material? So I think that's the intent for us, hopefully in partnership with MRAI, people like you. Our intent is, how do we, resolve the issue of green premium by bringing in industry and buyers together, by sort of, achieving economy of scale. And, I would say, I think being as part of this organization, I don't think we'll wait for policy to give us the push, but I think we can, as a market leader, people like you sitting here, we can sort of think about how do we work in this sector from the perspective of creating demand and, as industry working with the buyers collaboratively. So I'll stop here. I think this is what I wanted to share. Happy to discuss separately with any one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarun. Thank you, Tarun. Now, if I can request Deepak.
Good afternoon, Namaskara. I am Deepak from Toyota Kirloskar Purchase. Sir, I have not prepared any PPT as such, but would like to share how we think at Toyota. I think before addressing or discussing on green steel, would like to touch upon the sustainability, which is the base of base in our business. It's really a pleasure and privilege to be part of this allied group today. And discuss the carbon neutrality and sustainability as a whole. As a Toyota, the global thought process or the direction is net zero emission by 2050. That is what as the TMC, Toyota Motor Corporation, Japan, which is committed. It's not just a business commitment, it is a commitment to this earth. As an affiliate, including Toyota Kirloskar Motor in India, we are all working towards that. So we work on 3 pillars: carbon neutrality, circular economy, and nature positive. These are the 3 pillars based on which we want to achieve or accomplish this 2050 vision of carbon neutrality globally at Toyota. Of course, in all, scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. Hope you all understand the 3 scopes. As a TKM, Toyota Kirloskar Motor in India, we have set our internal target, plant zero CO2 emission by 2030, that is scope 1, and scope 3, including suppliers where this green steel comes, by 2050, in line with Toyota's global vision. Of course, we are driving many activities in our supply base. Many of our steel makers are here today. So basic as a first milestone, 22% CO2 reduction by 2030 as a first milestone we have kept, keeping 2019 as a base, 22% reduction by 2030 as a first target we have taken, and we are all working towards that. So we are having various communication channel like annual supplier meeting, then top-to-top meeting, expectation sharing meeting. Through all these things, we are driving this activity. In 3 pillars, supply, conversion, and consumption. In all these 3 pillars, we are working, and finally, we are confident that by 2050, carbon zero carbon or the carbon neutrality by 2050, what we have committed, we are hoping to achieve with the support of all stakeholders, including suppliers and dealers. Coming to green steel, of course, we have also started discussing on this in India, along with our steel makers. Of course, in India, it's still a very initial stage of the green steel development. Of course, using green hydrogen or electric arc furnace and other innovations. So we are driving this activity. If you see the overall scenario in the world, steel industry is responsible for 8 to 12% of global CO2 emission. So I think as a steel industry also they have bigger responsibilities. Based on this background, we are in discussion with steel mills and how we can achieve our targets. As a DRI, AMNS has already started in India, and we are in discussion with the AMNS because presently our supply base is basically Tata Steel, JSW, and POSCO. Now AMNS with DRI technology, we are in discussion and the approval is being initiated. And also the Tata Steel also we have discussed, and JSW also we discussed. Mid to long term, they have their business plans. In due course, we will try to accomplish what we are aiming at. Of course, India has the target of net carbon zero by 2070. As a Toyota, we have by 2050. So keeping 2050 target, how to drive our steel mill is something what we are working with the steel makers. But again, the scale of operation is something, the challenge what we are facing. Because as Mr. Abhi has already presented to you, as of now, the current economics says around 7 to 18 rupees per kg cost up if we adopt green steel straight away as on today. And also, he was mentioning around 1% cost up as a vehicle, but actually it may be around 2 to 3% cost up in a cost-sensitive market like India or maybe across the globe. So it's going to be a considerable increase. So how to mitigate this is something what we all need to discuss. But if you see as an automotive industry, we consume around 10 to 12% of overall steel consumption in India. So we are only 10 to 12%, so we consume. So other 88 to 90% is for infrastructure and industry sales. I think it is not just the automotive industry who can drive. Of course, as a technology we can bring, because for the recycling or end-of-life vehicle, as a Toyota, we already got our latest technology from Japan, and such investments are encouraged in India, and our group companies have come and they are also initiated such activities in India. However, if we need to really make green steel affordable as a whole, I think the policy revision and as a whole India, we need to drive this, because as the automotive industry, we contribute only 10 to 12% of the overall consumption. Of course, as automotive, we will also have benefits like brand differentiation and export also, countries like EU. So we'll have some advantage when we introduce green steel, and also long-term cost stability is what we are looking at. Of course, we are, as a Toyota, we are also taking many initiatives. One is end-of-life vehicle recycling. Such initiatives couple of years back we already started in India. I think you must be aware of that. And also in-house steel recycling, right from steel wheel, steel processing unit, then TKM in-house, suppliers and our scrap vendors. As a total supply chain, how this overall yield improvement can be improved. So through many yield improvement activities, so we are driving that, so that will continue to be there. And of course, as a summary, I think we need to look at this little holistically and practically, and it's still a very initial stage, and we have to learn from other country. And as a Toyota, technology-wise, yes, we will surely support, and we will continue to work for Make in India concept. And of course, we have a stringent or the very challenging goal of 2050 carbon neutrality, which we have committed, and we'll work towards that, and need all your support. So would like to take some questions. This is just a broad thought process I have shared. So any particular question, maybe after the panel presentation, we'll take and we'll try to explain. Thank you so much for the opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I would like to start by thanking MRAI for providing me this opportunity and sharing the stage with such a brilliant mind as well. So I'll start my PPT. We all know what is happening in major metro cities like Delhi, Mumbai. We all know the AQI has spiked to levels high. Here it is better, but we all know what is happening in Delhi or Mumbai, let's just say. So we have to do something, and on time by 2050 to achieve the 1.5 degree of climate goal, what we committed in UN. So this is the steel produced using blast furnace route is the most carbon intensive, we all know. 71% of current global steel produced is by blast furnace, and while in India it is 42%. Blast furnace contribute to approximately 42% of production, while steel production using coal accounts for 70%. Green steel production technology is not yet ready on a commercial scale. Large scale carbon capture utilization required to completely decarbonize steel production using technologies. Steel production using alternate processes such as hydrogen-based DRI, iron oxide, electrolysis, etc. will help reduce emission intensity. So this graph represents that the emissions from India are the highest by far. Less emission in foreign steel production is linked to the better availability of scrap, higher grade pellets, and better price natural gas as well. Limited advancements in the blast furnace technology over the years. Therefore, operations relies largely on coal. 72% of GHG emissions in blast furnace route is scope 1 and 2, mainly contributed by fossils, while coal DRI process almost accounts for 95% of the emissions are scope 1 and 2. Scope 3 contribute to less than 5% of overall emissions. Now, this is the breakdown of emission profile of Indian steel sector. 2% intensity from heavy diesel powered quarry and mining equipment along with crushers, material processors. 19% upstream logistics, mainly fossil fuel based, involve transport of fuel, raw material and related activities. 19% intensity from material processing includes iron ore refinements and coke production from coal, with coke gas reused in the process of downstream. 44% intensity is of coal, the main fuel in the steel making. 2% intensity of steel making mainly uses electricity, partly from fossil fuels or the grid, limited to coal or gas. 2% intensity post steel making steel is used for rolled and finished into products like rods, plates, finished material basically. 7% intensity downstream emissions arise from logistic, product processing and end-of-life treatments. Now, we all want to shift to the low carbon economy, but we need to know the role of steel in that. This table I have shared here shows why steel will be of the prime importance when shifting to the low carbon economy. Every other metal, you can see M and L here represent medium or low importance level, but steel has H, which is of high importance in each of the product we will be needing to transit. Now, we usually discuss that green steel will be premium in cost. Now, let us talk about the advantages green steel will be providing. By shifting to the green steel, India can save roughly $8 to $10 or carbon tax. This is calculated, I have shared the formula as well. Avoided carbon tax is concluded on country's average carbon emission intensity minus target intensity. So India can save $8 to $10. Green steel transition is also not that much expensive, I would say, because this table here shows wind energy, automobile and electrical appliances. The bar graph shared below shows that once green steel we will be using in them, how much inflation we can expect in the final product. And what was the normal cost of the product once we were using the base steel. So comparison shows wind energy for just like windmill, if we use windmill, the inflation will be around 1%, in automobile 1%, and in electrical appliances it is around 4%. Now, these are the demand drivers. This is in complement to definitely industries ask of lowering the GST to 5%. The classic example, we have recently seen that Indian government lowered the GST on many products to boost the consumption. Similarly, lowering the GST to 5% will be of prime importance if we have to generate demand. So role of BIS is also important here because taboo of recycled steel is there in the industry, which Sanjay sir also said in his session. So removing this taboo is very important. Adoption of carbon credits for difference. This is a European model where carbon credits are used as a hedging tool. The difference can be paid, so to balance the price, CCFD can be adopted. Including scope 3 in reporting, companies can unlock systematic emission reductions that go beyond their direct operations. Phase out of aged carbon intensive assets, this should be more strictly applied. Recently, we saw ELV not getting that much success which was expected in Delhi. So we have to push for that policy. Green steel purchase policy, definitely ministry has prepared a framework where this is already included. Identify the markets and determine the pricing. Pilot projects at great scale can be considered to determine the actual price of the green steel, because so far everyone is estimating the premium. Somebody is saying 15 to 20, someone is saying 10 to 15. There are different numbers. Okay, so in terms of sector-wise demand, construction, infra, and auto appliances constitutes above 75% of steel demand and represent major share of private investments. We can see that private investment in these sectors are higher, excluding that infrastructure. Every sector is private. Private investors are there. So these are the sectors which can generate the demand for green steel and should be pushed. These sectors should be pushed to use maximum green steel in their operations. Now, sectoral potential. If building and construction sector is pushed to use maximum green steel, Scope 3 steel emissions in the sector outcome accounts for 204 metric tons of carbon dioxide. In infrastructure, large infra project accounts for bulk steel demand. Government mandate to procure certain % of green steel could be an effective way to lower the emissions. In automobile sector, Scope 3 steel emissions from the sector accounts for 27 metric ton carbon dioxide. In engineering, appliances, and packaging, Scope 3 steel emissions from the sector accounts for 30 metric ton carbon dioxide. Now, this is a primary research, and we were in touch with some companies who has adopted some technologies to lower their lower their emissions. As per Union Ministry, capacities installed till FY24 will require more than 23.5 lakh CR, along with tapping energy efficiency, revolving funds for transition to produce green steel. In India, green steel transition will involve hydrogen blending, recovery gases, renewable energy, and carbon capture utilization. Technologies like scrap plus DRI and electric arc furnace, reheating furnace are being considered in maximum cases. However, challenges have started to surface. In reheating furnace, capacities operates on low carbon fuels like natural gas and propane on limited hydrogen generation. Limited pipeline network in the country means these carbon gases need to be shipped through trucks. I mean, there is no consideration of gate in, gate out by road. So does this classify as a green steel? This is a question, basically. Considering pollution made from the trucks and carbon fuel used in reheating furnace, the green steel remains a big question. This is in the reheating furnace. While we talk about DRI in electric arc furnace, scrap-based steel produced carbon, while DRI is more carbon intensive. However, domestic furnaces face shortage of scrap. We know we are producing 35 million tons of, roughly 35 million tons of scrap annually, while import of 8 to 10 million ton is being done. So mills are forced to utilize DRI in their process, which is more carbon intensive. Additionally, the scrap-based electric arc furnace requires more energy, and this energy is coming from power grids based on coal. So this is the question which needs to be addressed while considering the aspect of green steels. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajat. I think one thing that I can see common is everyone finished their presentation on time. So thank you for that. I think across our presentations, I could feel 3 common threads. The first is that whether it's green steel or sustainability, I think it's here to stay, but it is in nascent stage in India. I think that is one. Second, we said, I think all of us touched upon saying it's a chicken and egg problem. When the producers are saying, who will pay for an extra investment that I'm doing? Consumers are saying, why should I pay extra for green steel, for decarbonization, that anyway you producers have to do? Policymakers are saying, you both need to get your act together because otherwise carbon tax is coming. The reality is, I think we should not forget the overall vision, which is we are doing something for the environment, but we are also here to make the money while we take care of our environment. So I think the first question is on chicken, and I open it to any of you who want to answer, or each of you can give some perspectives around it. Which is to say, given this is a chicken and egg problem, where do we start solving it? What are the micro steps that are required or will be required as we go forward?
Hello. Hello. Yeah, I think it's a complicated question. I don't think I can answer it very clearly, but I can certainly take an attempt. I think if you look at, I can just draw some parallels with the work we are doing on cement and concrete, where, you know, we don't have taxonomy defined for cement and concrete. Concrete is so complicated. It's like a burger, you know, where so many layers goes into it. But if you look at steel, you know, we are fortunate to have green steel taxonomy defined for it. At least we have some numbers there. Now the question is, you know, I think we were discussing it with ARS Steel and few other players as well. You know, we already have a product available in the market. Why we still don't have the demand for it? So that's a $1 million question that we are trying to answer. And you know, we have taken several. So I think we looked at various examples of what has happened in different industry. I think the classic example is of LED. I'm not saying LED is similar to steel, but there we saw economy of scale. Eventually, you know, led consumers like us started asking for LED. Awareness was important. You know, eventually, you know, it became part of our normal life, and you know, procurement also started asking for it. So for us, I think when we look at steel and the current policy environment, I think it's a huge opportunity for us. And if I talk about, if I'm representing the developer community here, since we have the industry who is ready to produce the steel, I think it's up to the developers to give this demand to the industry as well. You know, if I think about top or 4 or 5 major steel players, you know, started talking about, you know, producing 1 million metric ton of 5-star rated steel, do we have the developers ready to buy it? Answer is, I don't think I can say yes, but I think this is where we are trying to work with the developer community, like people like Lodha, Godrej, Prestige. I think we are already working with Lodha, we are already working with Godrej. We are trying to form sort of, you know, again, coalition, hopefully in partnership with MRAI in future. You know, how do we work with the developers, especially when we have the product? It's not like we don't have the product in the market. So that's my, I don't think I have answered it, but.
Deepak? Yeah. To be very honest, it's not exactly chicken and egg story because the country direction is fixed, 2070, carbon neutrality. I think it is the responsibility of each one of us to how to reach there. I think the destination is fixed, the timeline is fixed. And this is one industry, we have to do something, okay? So 2070 is the country commitment, so we all have to make it possible. That's the first point. Second point, as you rightly said, micro step. I think this is where the volume of business will come into picture, okay? So if you straight away ask, example, of course, I'm in an auto industry. For the end customer, you change the steel without adding any features in the car, without giving anything extra. If we charge us 2% or 3% extra money, the end customer may think, why I need to pay? Or some other competitor, he may say that I'll not use green steel, I'll try to use the normal steel and give it at a lesser price. And this is where this price war will start beginning. I think this is where a policy drive will surely help us. So as a country, we should make the one voice and we should move. I think that is where these things will be practically doable. I think that should be the way. And second thing, not just limiting to 1 or 2 industry. I think we should see it as all steel consumers. So whether it is FMCG, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's auto, every industry or all the industry, when we move in one direction, the scale of business will increase. And that is where these things will become, yes, we can all do together. I think this approach will surely help. This has to be driven as a policy or a country direction.
So I think you're basically saying that there is this net zero commitments. To stick to that, you need to move in some direction, and policy will help. But our producers, and Tyagarajan, you have been doing this certification. So do you see the producers moving in that direction? Do you see large players taking leap in that direction because of their, at least in India, because of their net zero goals?
Abhijit, like I'll take this question in two parts. So where to start with? So I'd like to break the shackle. Like always, green is costly. So any measure a company do to make it green, it's costly. No, that's not the case today. Classic example, solar cost. Like if you want to buy a solar electricity way back in 2015, it costed 80 rupees, 90 rupees, 20 rupees. But what is the cost today? 3.5 rupees or 4 rupee. So cost of green is also constantly coming down. Not every green measure that a company is going to take, it's going to be costly for them to afford. So point number one. And again, having said that, I'm not denying the fact that investment today is not going to come back today for them. So there's going to be a payback time for them. So again, this has to be seen in a very longer path than a very short-term goal. So classic example of us, when we started it in 2015, so whoever is getting eco-label wanted a premium on their product. So even the sustainable product quantum that was available was very small in that portion of time. But today, if you see the portfolio that's there with the sustainable building materials available, it has become a competitive price. And the premium, the word of premium, as we are not seeing it today. We saw it in 2015. Like there were a lot of manufacturers who were requesting us to keep some kind of a premium and everything. But it substantially came down in a longer run. So that's part of the question. And again, consumer getting the green products adapting to their procurement policies. Yes, it's happening today. So we could see with many, if you see green portfolio, so 14 plus government PSUs, PWDs are adopting Green Pro in their procurement policies. 500 plus corporate organizations are already mentioning Green Pro in their procurements. So which means the market is willing to take the green products when it's available in a right way. So if the credible information for green products is available, yes, they are willing to take.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, just to add, I think your question was whether the large makers are ready for this change. We do have business with the 3-4 major steel makers in India. Of course, let me not announce any milestone on their behalf, though we have some information internally. But yes, they are getting ready. Okay, so the latest entry, his initial investment itself is in GRI, and other two majors are also having plans. Maybe their future investments will have this technology. But as an overall country and industry or the manufacturers, how we support them by utilizing the green steel, I think that we have the responsibility. But as a steel maker, if you ask, yes, they are clear that they have to move in this direction, and they are moving.
I would also like to add, as you said about the large producers making that scale of green steel or lower emission steel, they are using technologies to lower their emissions and starting to make the greener steel. In my last slide, this is what I discussed, but they are facing challenges like proper supply of higher grade material like pellets, which helps in lower emission. Scrap is very scarce in local market. So like natural gas is being imported into India at higher price. So these challenges should also be considered before, then we can produce that green steel regularly on that scale.
So I think as you talk to those leaders of steel players, larger ones as well as the smaller ones, I think there are 3 phases that they're going through of the decarbonization journey. The first phase, maybe for the last 5 years or more, is a lot of focus on efficiency improvement, energy reduction, which is a lot to do with internal hygiene. So you're saving cost, you're reducing emissions. Now this second phase has come in where, whether it's natural gas, whether it's high-grade ores, pellets, and so on, I think you're using. You have to pay a premium on it, but it's also getting offset with the productivity yield improvements that you spoke about. As we enter the third phase, that's where the real challenge will come. To say that if I have to go for new technologies, I have to invest, whether it's carbon capture. See, I have BF-BOF. It's not going away. I can't shut them down overnight. And the new ones which are coming are also BF-BOF. And they will be in use for 40 years. So there, when you have to reduce and you have to add these additional things, it requires investments. Steel players are asking, what premiums will I get in exchange of that? Are you seeing in your, both Tyagarajan as well as Rajat, as you look at markets, do you see green premiums happening in India? We saw Europe example where the car makers were willing to pay around $200, $300 also.
No, that was the inflated price I showed. The actual cost of a car would be 1% higher if they use green steel, because the percent of steel used in the car was that percentage, 15 to 20% I shared. So that is why. And yes, I do see the green steel premium coming because, you know, as I said, for now, not even gate-in, gate-outs are being considered. Once they will be considered, the freight cost will go much higher. And in order to bring the green steel prices down, the economies of scale will help, demand definitely will help, and CCFD, I think, would be better because carbon credits trading is the only way which can bring some softness to the prices in shorter period of time.
Excellent. Deepak, I think this is for you now. Given those premiums, we saw in Europe that some players, at least many auto manufacturers, are committing to those long-term contracts with players like SAS, SAB, and so on, for green steel. What will it take for automakers like you and others in India to commit to some long-term contracts? What do you want in return? What will you like to see with steel players to get into some of those long-term contracts for green steel in the future?
Yeah. At least as a Toyota, we don't go for any short-term business contract at all. Whatever we finalize, it's always for at least a one model life. That is for at least 6 to 8 years. Usually for raw material, whether it's a steel or resin, so it's always much longer that. Okay, until and unless they become incompetitive or they make some mistakes. Otherwise, at least in our industry, so raw material makers are always there for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Sometimes we may add 1 or 2 additional suppliers. So I think contract-wise, long-term contract will not be an issue, and we will surely give a very clear volume plan. Example, at least our steel makers, they know what is going to be our steel requirement for 2030. Recently we have shared. At least plus 3 years is something concretely we share. I think long-term contract will not be an issue, at least in auto industry, in most of the auto industry. This is for the contract. However, for the green steel, I think it's not about the long-term contract. It's about the competitiveness, because we are in a very, very price-sensitive market. How we need to be competitive. And this is one challenge. This global best competitiveness is the new thought or new word which is coming in auto industry nowadays, because the nearby, because the China, those OEs are entering. So we are into a new competition era altogether. So one side, actually even existing product cost is expected to go down. On the other side, this green steel introduction may increase the price. So how to balance it? So I think this is where we have challenges. However, if you take our example, Toyota, 2050 carbon neutrality, we have committed. Even though country target is 2070, by 2050 we have to achieve. For that, we have to introduce green steel. But how to balance it out is something in mid to long term, we have to have our strategy with volume of business. And one more thing, in auto industry, many OEs are into exports, especially wherever companies are exporting to Europe, they will get some merit because there are regulations and you'll have some advantages if you are exporting whether parts or as a vehicle to US or European countries, and that is where this green steel will help them also. So I think it's the overall combination of your business strategy. So I think it's very difficult to say that it is 1% increase or 2%. As an overall strategy, how do you manage it?
Yeah, but I think this collaboration therefore will be very important, particularly in auto. I think a very important point you made and a pertinent point is that as an automaker, you will get some advantages for those exports if you use this green steel. And those advantages, if they can be shared back, and you will as you have your conversations, I think that's a path to get to somewhere. On the construction side, and Tarun, what is the momentum? As you mentioned, you're speaking to a number of these developers. My question to you is, given the Indian taxonomy, many of these small secondary players, if I may say so, are already at a 5-star grade if you look at our Indian definition of it, right? Are these real estate players willing to pay more for that? Are they? How is the thinking going on? How will that greening likely happen there in the construction sector?
I think two points here. One is Paramjit sir is sitting here. I think we were talking to him as well about the work we have done. In fact, there is a discussion ongoing with few developers, in fact, in the steel industry as well, where, is it possible for us to look at rebar as a product category and think about introducing a separate threshold value for rebar? As you mentioned, currently almost, all the players, recycled steel industry is sort of falling between 4-star and 5-star, and maybe with certain push they can even achieve better than 5-star. So that is the first point. The second point is really around, as we were discussing around, how do we create the momentum within construction sector? So I think the first point would be the green premium, and that's the challenge. And for any developer, it boils down to the bottom line, and it certainly plays an important role. And that's the question we are trying to answer. I think there are multiple ways to look at it. One is, economy of scale, creating that massive demand, giving push to the industry. Second point would be, looking at from the policy perspective. So right now, we don't have anything at the policy level, asking, first of all, giving any guidance to CPWDs, PWDs, or developers. If you have to think of constructing your building, you can't exceed the emission associated with building materials beyond this point. That is not available right now. And that is where I was highlighting, the role of steel sector, which is 20 to 25% emissions. So that is missing. And that's where, we are working at the national level with Ministry of Housing, trying to come up with national level baseline benchmark. That would actually inform a developer, if I'm constructing my building, if I'm using these materials, my emission intensity should be, X, Y, Z. That is missing. And the second would be, eventually what we would like to see is, organization like CPWDs and PWDs started integrating these materials in their schedule of rates. That would certainly give a push to the industry. I think very good signal to the industry that yes, so that is what we're trying to do at the policy level from the demand perspective.
Well, very interesting to hear, between sectors, automotive a lot more was between supplier-producer collaborations to pick it up. On construction, I hear more mandate coming in to make sure it happens. I think very interesting. I think in interest of time, I've been giving signals, so let me ask a few questions from the audience.
Yeah. Abhijit, no, I don't have any questions, but with these 4 panelists, including five of you, what I realize after hearing everyone, that there are 2 responsible organizations in the country. One is the Government of India. They have to start promoting green steel. They have to start buying at a certain premium prices. Then big brands like whatever Toyota, Volkswagen, General Motors, or Suzuki, Tata, everyone. Then big brands in the construction industry. If they support this industry and the secondary steel makers join this, I'm going to say momentum, because a lot of secondary steel players are making green steel at a very affordable prices, okay? And NIST and Government of India and Steel Ministry is going to help us out definitely competitiveness will come in next 2 to 3 years of time. Premium will go down, technology will take the lead, and definitely market will get stabilized. But to start with, Government of India and big brands has to support this. Thank you so much.
I think to conclude, maybe, one last rapid fire round question for each of you. Quick 30 seconds each.
Hello. Sir, I have one question.
Okay, one last question I'll take.
Not a question, sir.
Yeah, please go
It
for
is
it.
just to update that I am from Rhode Island Steel, Ludhiana. And my company carbon emission is much lesser than the 5-star rating that is designed by Government of India. And we are making steel for majorly for automotive industry. And we have started a green steel process basically a year back. We are thanks to our customer, many customers like car maker in Europe, car maker in US, car maker in Japan, and we are getting very good guidance from NIST for this overall process. And we are getting lot of benefit for the green steel journey. Basically, first benefit is that we are having a lower cost, that what we are discussing, that cost will be higher. But in our case, with the solar, we are getting lesser cost. We are getting better quality of customers, OEMs, and we are getting long-term business, and overall quality of steel associating with the OEM also improving, and we are getting very good environment, and we are also discussing with our supplier to refine their process so that our CO2 emission at our end will be lower as in scope 3. So this journey is very nice at our end, and we are getting all the major advantages in our organization. Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think on that note, I'll conclude the session on a very positive note that the future is bright for our country, for green steel. I think a combination of factors need to come together as Sanjay ji mentioned right now. But I think the direction is right. The pace is picking up. We are here. I remember in the first session, Yogesh or somebody said, we need to show we have arrived. So I think as a country, we are getting to that position of becoming arrived with a lot of confidence and positivity. I wish all our panelists and you fellow business members all the very best in times to come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Abhijit ji, and our distinguished panelists, Tyagarajan ji, Tarun ji, as well as Deepak ji and Rajat ji. Thank you very much for making this very interesting, as well as the very dynamic presentation, as well as the very valid concluding remarks has been given, and definitely that will add some more value in the Government of India, as all of us understanding that Government of India is making the green steel policy procurement documentations, and with these today's concluding remarks, we can definitely add some more inputs to the Ministry of Steel as well. Thank you very much once again, as well as thank you very much to our audience for your patience for at a so late evening today, also making it more interactive session for all of us. Thank you so much. May I request with this, Sanjay Mehta ji, please be on the dais to do the honors to our distinguished panelists led by the Abhijit ji for sparing their valuable time all the way. They have taken a lot of efforts for making their presentation as well. Thank you, sir. Request one group photograph along with Sanjay Mehta ji. How much? Thank you so much for now we ending the day one sessions. Thank you so much. Please join us for the dinner at 8 p.m. onwards. Thank you so much, sir.
Projects, steel making, ductile iron pipes, electric vehicles, renewable energy, transmission line towers, education, and aviation.